They told us to be inside, and they're not.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, March 29, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1229.
This is No Agenda.
Counting masks and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here at the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where there's a ventilator going down the road, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was a Peterbilt.
Oh, have you seen, do we have a Zephyr report yet for today? Have you seen a Zephyr? I guess not.
No, I haven't, but it's possible I missed it.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious to see how many cars it has.
That'd be funny if it got down to 6.
No, that would not. That's when we really need to start activating all shit hits the fan systems. A 6-car Zephyr, unheard of, very bad news.
Well, the 7 car is pretty weird, I'll tell you.
While we're at it, talking about transportation, I would like to express my appreciation towards the truckers. We have many truckers in the No Agenda Media tribe, and an additional thank you to the dude's name Ben and Dudette's name Bernadette, who are keeping your Netflix working. Believe me, there's actual work going on to change these bandwidth requirements. So that's your border gateway.
Choking it down.
The border gateway protocol, dude's name Ben, and there's all kinds of people making your stuff at home work. So just wanted to say that off of the bat. And while we're talking about masks and counting, and let's debunk some stuff, shall we?
You're into the mood of debunking to start the show?
Yeah, I just one clip. It's the clip that matters the most to me. Well, actually, it's 2 clips, but it's in 2 parts. If
the Zephyr comes by, I'm going to interrupt.
No, you have to interrupt. Zephyr has priority. So why don't we start with Dr. Birx, who now, of course, is
your buddy.
Yeah. Well, and, after I started paying attention to her and looked at her credentials and history, she immediately got debunked what's the word I'm looking for? She's being canceled. She's in the middle of being canceled. And I'll start with that then. This happened on Friday. She did an interview with CBN. What's CBN? Is that Canada Broadcast Network Broadcasting? What is CBN?
Well, it could be Christian Broadcast Network.
It could be. Let's see. CBN. Oh, I think you're right. It is the Christian Broadcast Network. Of course, not that many people watch the Christian Broadcast Network.
I think a few people do.
But it was put online, and once it went viral, then Dr. Birx, appointed by Obama in 2014. Of course, she worked for George W. Bush. I mean, she's been around. She's an ambassador. She was a colonel. That was her last rank before she left the military services. No. She is just an orange-tongue ass licker. Didn't you know that? Yeah, here it is.
How would you describe the job President Trump is doing behind the scenes and in front of the cameras during these daily briefings that we're seeing? What's been your perspective, Dr. Birx?
He's been so attentive to the scientific literature and the details and the data. And I think his ability to analyze and integrate data that comes out of his long history in business has really been a real benefit during these discussions about medical issues, because in the end, data is data, and he understands the importance of the granularity. And I think he's been really excited about finding the level of detail that we've been able to now bring over the last few weeks to really understand who's at the greatest risk for severe illness, who will have mild and less and asymptomatic disease, and really calling on every American to do that social distancing, because some people may not know they're actually infected and be unknowingly spreading the virus. And that all comes from the president seeing the data and then really directing these policies and these guidelines that go out to the American people.
Well, this was no good. This meant she had flipped. She's no good. She's useless. You can't listen to her anymore. She said something positive about the president's ability to comprehend things. Oh, no. The social media went nuts. She's the most hated woman in America this weekend. This was all preceded by her speaking very frankly to the media at the press briefing, which I know was completely ineffective because the media is still not reporting on it. All of the information, I think we have most of it. We've discussed a lot of it. And we start with the imperial model, which apparently got us into this mess. This is the model that was created at the Imperial College in the United Kingdom. And that was done specifically by Neil Ferguson, who downgraded his own model significantly. And we can talk about that right after we listen to Dr. Birx telling the media that it was wrong. And I think she doesn't do a great job here. She treats the media like children, which they don't respond very well to. It would have been better.
Just like children, by the way.
Yes. I think a different approach might have gotten more attention. But this is really the information.
Candy.
Candy. Yeah, candy works. This is the information. You said that in a very creepy, knowing way. I don't like what I heard.
Candy.
I'm sure many of you saw the recent report out of the UK about them adjusting completely their needs. This is really quite important. If you remember, that was the report that said there would be 500,000 deaths in the UK and 2.2 million deaths in the United States. They've adjusted that number in the UK to 20,000.
Oops.
So
Whoa.
500,000 to 20,000. We're looking into this in great detail to understand that adjustment. I'm going to say something that's a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to do it in a way that we can all understand it together.
Okay, children, you ready?
Wow. Hey, by the way,
yes.
If I pointed this out years ago, and it applied actually even before we began the show. That is the way Hillary always talked to the press in a very. She stopped doing that, by the way. As she got older, she's kind of lost it because she got so angry. But she used to say every word very distinctly. And I complained about this a number of times because what happens, and this style of speaking where she spent every word very clearly, which was just a horrible way to speak. And the women in the Bay Area in particular, oh, she's such a wonderful speaker. But Hillary was always speaking down to people. When you talk like when I talk like this to you, it's demeaning, I think.
Yes. Well, you're not quite pulling it off, but I understand what you're saying. And it's a milieu. Look at where she comes from.
I'm a stammer. I can't barely talk of myself.
But look at where she comes from. She comes from that milieu. She comes from the Obama administration. Which doesn't matter, by the way, because, she still has an orange tongue. It's no good.
Orange tongue.
It was really, that's the kind of stuff you get when you see this video online. It's hilarious how people are responding to her. So I think this should have been breaking news, top of the news. Oh my God, check it out. For whatever reason, and there are reasons, the model was adjusted downward by a factor of 25. That's not insignificant. Is it top of the news? No, of course not. Let's listen to what she said. And let's all understand it together.
I'm going to say something that's a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to do it in a way that we can all understand it together. In the model, either you have to have a large group of people who are asymptomatic, who've never presented for any test, in order to have the kind of numbers that were predicted. To get to 60 million people infected, or of 6 million people infected, you have to have a large group of asymptomatics, because in no country to date have we seen an attack rate over 1 in 1,000. So either we're only measuring the tip of the iceberg of the symptomatic cases, and underneath it are a large group of people. So we're working very hard to get that antibody test, because that's a good way to figure out who are all these people under here and do they exist. Or we have the transmission completely wrong. So these are the things we're looking at, because the predictions of the models don't match the reality on the ground in either China, South Korea, or Italy. We are about 5 times the size of Italy. So if we were Italy and you did all those divisions, Italy should have close to 400,000 deaths. They're not close to achieving that. So these are the kinds of things we're trying to understand. Models are models. We're adapting now to the reality. There's enough data now of the real experience with the coronavirus on the ground to really make these predictions much more sound. So when people start talking about 20% of a population getting infected, it's very scary. But we don't have data that matches that based on the experience.
Okay, so again, it wasn't top of the news. This is very good news.
No, this not only isn't top of the news, it definitely should be top of the news. But this is just like the global warming guys who are not deniers. They just don't buy it. And they have good data to show that this is a lot of malarkey.
I disagree.
Models are bad.
I disagree. This is the equivalent of the actual global warming modelers saying, hey, our models were wrong. It's not the same. That would be fantastic news. This is not some contrarian. This is Neil Ferguson, epidemiologist, who created the model. And 2 days after Boris Johnson locked down the country, he went before Parliament and testified and said, okay, I've adjusted the model. And his answer to why this drastic change is, well, I didn't take into account we'd be doing anything, which is total horse crap because the data is the R number, the RO number, how many people one person will infect, is unknown still. So as you heard Dr. Burke speaking, we don't really know the transmission rate. So he just filled something in and then he changed it and it got a different result. Not the first time. He's had some interesting misprognostications, such as with hoof and mouth disease, where he's
the hoof and mouth guy.
He is the hoof and mouth guy. 6 million heads of cattle were destroyed, likely unnecessary. It really put the agrarian sector in the UK into a very problematic state. Same with the swine flu.
Well, this guy has got to go.
Well, it's not just this guy. Here's what I understand. The Imperial College is a form of research entity of record for government, for think tanks, for policy groups, and for the media. This is the study that got everybody all jacked and started the whole media thing, along with politicians, of course, because they were reading 2 million dead in America. And I still want to know, you recall the president said, they couple people, 3, I think, came to my office and said, you got to shut the country down. I still would like to know who that was. Just for history's sake, who was it that convinced the president to shut down the country? Because it seems like it may not have been that necessary. And we'll get into...
Well, he was reluctant to take any of this that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And they came and they started hounding him, and the media went nuts.
Yep.
Of course, the media, what baffles me is, as you point this out, this is a good catch, by the way, and apparently you had to go catch it.
Yeah.
Is the media, seriously, don't you? It's disgusting that you had to just catch this and the media didn't, because the media caught the other side of it, but they don't catch the correction. This is the way they do their, we made a correction in the paper, we were wrong, but we made a correction in the paper. It's on page 32. You can find it right there. It's at the bottom.
Yeah, well, it's fear porn, and they're profiting off of it, although that's becoming sketchy.
I wonder, but just to interrupt that part of it.
Yeah.
I want to read a note from one of our guys.
Yes, that's why I bring it up. Good.
You have the note too. Because we're bitching about the media exploiting this, and he says, what's the media's play here? I work, and this is a guy who works at CBS local station in Bismarck, North Dakota. I'm the production manager. He's 32. Our ad buys are dropping off a cliff. Mm-hmm. Events are canceling. These ads are gone. Stores are closed. Those ads are gone. People aren't working. Money isn't flowing. Propping this virus up is no good for us. We have more eyeballs, which is the thing that I point out.
Right.
You have more eyeballs, but there's less demand for customers. It's not like Walmart and Target need to advertise to sell toilet paper. Even at the national, or at a national, Disney level, Universal, Comcast, NBC parks are closed. Stores are closed. This is costing everyone money.
Yeah, car sales.
I'll just finish this, and I thought about this all night. I don't hold the purse strings. Our TV station is busy, so my employees have brought up raises until, and he goes on about the rest of the inner workings. But I was thinking about this. This is true, what he says. And what you just said brings the point home, I think, even further. The media will take a beating on the bottom line if they can get rid of Trump.
Yes. Yeah. It's so stupid. It's stupid.
That's how hard they'll bring the country. You got to remember, we have the clip, Bill Maher going on. I'd rather see a recession I'd rather see the country go into the toilet than see Trump get reelected.
Do we have the that Bill Maher clip? I hope.
Well, we do have defining it is going to be a problem, but he did say it. Everyone knows it.
I remember it. Yeah.
And this is this example here that he's pointing out to me, because I'm saying, well, they're just explaining the situation. When it leads, it bleeds. But if they're taking a beating, why won't they turn it around and get off this? No. This is the way to go, because this will doom Trump. And now that Trump's numbers are going up, they're beside themselves. They don't know what to do.
And there's also a secondary part. Remember, these guys. And when I say these guys, it's these guys and gals of the media, certainly the on-air personalities, are really wrapped up in it. They are in, it's for them, it's the equivalent of their Vietnam front lines. And that's how they're acting. That's how they feel. It's like, okay. And all these hardships, like, man, I had to do my own makeup. Shit, man, I had to do my own hair. It's like hardships on the front lines, coronavirus reporting. We're social distancing at my house, in my home studio. Yeah, man, hope we can hunker down. No, it's sad. It's sad and pathetic. Where this is, it's great news for the world. For the world! Breaking news! They cannot bring themselves to be positive because it doesn't work in their mindset, doesn't work. Actually, in their business model. Their business model no longer. They're used to. When I was a kid, we'd actually have at the end of the broadcast, mind you, and now on a happy note. That's what they would do. We don't even get that anymore. Do you remember that the last minute and a half of the newscast would be the human interest story, and now on a happy note? And they get like a puppy,
well, they still do
kitten
that
in a tree. Not really.
No, I disagree, but okay.
Right. So
they try to do something uplifting at the end, and so Nora could maybe put a smile on her face.
So let's just look at what was predicted: 2 million. If you drop that down by a factor of 25, you get to, what is that, 500,000? No, 25. Is it 400,000? Something like that. Help me out, John. Come on.
It would be 500,000. It'd be a quarter of that number.
Right. And
if you're saying it's 25% of the number.
No. It's a factor 25.
Oh, then I'd have to pull out the calculator to get that correctly.
Well, why don't we do it? The mainstream media is not doing it. So we had 2 million, factor of 25. So it should be 80,000. 80,000 dead. Well, we got a long way to go. And, this thing has to be at the end just for how seasonal these things are, regardless. So it seems like, and that's what Burke said, either we just, it's like an iceberg under there. We can't see anything. And essentially everyone's infected, I guess.
Well, she's implying a lot of people have had,
have had it. Yes. Well, and this brings us to the second part, which is the actual reporting of the virus itself. I have another clip from Burke's, but first, confirmation that there are indeed 2 strains, the L strain and the S strain, which I know for sure has not been reported in anything of mainstreamness. Now, even though this has been published, we got it from the Oxford University Press. The No Agenda pharmacist, who I've been communicating with, he's a former professor of pharmacy who's worked in a hospital in Massachusetts for the last 5 years. And yes, he does have hundreds of COVID-positive patients currently. He is in the process of creating 2 different protocols for the treatment of each of the strains because they are different. So this is happening at the hospital level, but you have not heard about it. And I don't know if Dr. Birx doesn't want to tell us because maybe we'll all get freaked out because one is apparently much more severe than the other. It's very possible we have the L strain in New York, possibly the L strain in Kirkland, Washington. Who knows? But we don't know because there's no reporting, and all the reporters are in their spare bedroom, with the hardships of putting on their own makeup. So he gave me a whole breakdown of this. He sent it to me, especially for the No Agenda producers. I just want to go back and forth with him, make sure I can publish it because it was something unclear to me in his email. But that is something that's just not being reported. It's not being reported at all that there are two strains. And it's highly likely that if you had the S strain, which you may have had a little cough, you may have been congested, you are immune for the more severe L strain. That's what it seems like. Again, that all does fit with a bioweapon, but that's a different story. Now about the damn ventilators. Oh my God. So much hysteria from the media. Truly unfounded, unwarranted lies about the availability of ventilators. And Birx goes at the media again. Unsuccessfully, I might add.
And then finally, the situation about ventilators. We were reassured and meeting with our colleagues in New York that there are still ICU beds remaining, and there's still significant over 1,000 or 2,000 ventilators that have not been utilized yet. Please, for the reassurance of people around the world, to wake up this morning and look at people talking about creating DNR situations, do not resuscitate situations for patients. There is no situation in the United States right now that warrants that kind of discussion. You can be thinking about it in a hospital. Certainly many hospitals talk about this on a daily basis. But to say that to the American people, to make the implication that when they need a hospital bed, it's not going to be there, or when they need that ventilator, it's not going to be there. We don't have an evidence of that right now. And it's our job collectively to assure the American people that it's our collective job to make sure that doesn't happen. Right now, you can see these cases are concentrated in highly urban areas. There are other parts of the states that have lots of ventilators, and other parts of New York State that don't have any infections right now. So we can be creative. We can meet the need by being responsive. But there's no model right now, no reality on the ground where we can see that 60 to 70% of Americans are going to get infected in the next 8 to 12 weeks. I just want to be clear about that.
So subsequently, in the question and answer session, the journalist, who of course heard that from Dr. Birx and was wide awake and staring right at her, asked the president a question.
The question I was building up to is are you able to guarantee, to assure these states, these hospitals, that everybody who needs a ventilator will get a ventilator?
So here's what I'll tell you. I think we're in really good shape. This is a pandemic, the likes of which nobody's seen before. I think we're in great shape. I think that, number one, we've distributed ventilators, a big deal. We've distributed vast numbers of ventilators, and we're prepared to do vast numbers. I think we're in great shape. I hope that's the case. I hope that we're going to have leftovers so we can help other people, other countries.
Everybody who needs one will be able to get a ventilator.
Look, don't be a cutie pie, okay? Everyone who needs one. Nobody's ever done what we've done. Nobody's done anything like we've been able to do. And everything I took over was a mess. It was a broken country in so many ways other than this.
Now, where does this stem from? Again, the media hyping some lie, although you're about to hear it being walked back, from Governor Cuomo of New York, apparently originated with de Blasio. Oh, we don't have enough ventilators. We don't have them. Trump's not sending him. Trump sucks. That's my Cuomo. So a reporter asked Cuomo point blank,
were there ventilators found in a storage facility or something that the president is claiming that there were ventilators found or that they need to be distributed? Is there any truth to that?
That is incorrect and grossly uninformed. The point is we have ventilators in a stockpile and we didn't send them to the hospitals yet.
So that's grossly incorrect and uninformed. It wasn't a stockpile. We had them in a warehouse. It's not the same thing. It's grossly wrong.
Of course we didn't. That's the whole point. The hospitals don't need them yet. The hospitals aren't at their apex. The hospitals have enough ventilators today, but the numbers are going up. We're planning for an apex, a high point in about 21 days. That's when we need the 30,000 ventilators, not today. Right now, we're putting them in a stockpile. So the point is, well, they're in a stockpile, you must not need them. It's just ignorant. Of course you don't need them today. You need them when you hit the apex, which is 30,000. We're not there yet.
So I don't know if the media misquoted the governor and the mayor about this huge ventilator shortage in New York, but it's certainly being walked back. But of course, it's ignorant to think that we still have enough or not enough. It's a shit show. But this shit show is coming from somewhere else. New York City wants you to believe that the coronavirus has overwhelmed their healthcare system. Please pay no attention to the 16 hospitals in New York City that closed since 2003. I think it was cutting Medicaid reimbursements. You know, this is an administrative issue where hospitals are funded by the insurance companies who give them a lump sum every year. Here's your $800 million. Figure out how you're going to bill, who you're going to bill for it. I'm being brevity here because obviously that's not how it works. But that's the essential idea. And the idea is to run at 90% capacity all the time. It's a commercial business. And again, I have to point to the insurance companies mainly. I feel that they're at fault, or the whole insurance system. So no one was really ready for a pandemic. They talked a big game, and now they're blaming everybody they can except themselves. A couple of emails we received from our producers. First of all, from most of these want to be anonymous. I'm a person who operates the ventilators, Adam. We are registered respiratory therapists, RRT. You're right. You can have as many ventilators as you want, but without someone to operate them, you got a problem. Our training is very similar to a registered nurse. Both jobs require at least a 2-year associate degree or higher, a national board exam, state license to practice. I'm receiving job ads every day. Everyone is trying to prepare for the, quote, the surge. And this is the thing you got to look at, the surge. Our local hospital is licensed for 150 beds for a town of 40,000. But they're trying to prepare for patient load of up to 400 as a worst-case scenario. So, as you've astutely noted, the talk is where to put the patients, but not who is going to take care of them. The administration is just reissuing the same talking points over and over to us rank and file. He does say he's a ham, so he does get to save the world twice, which is kind of cool. Thank you very much. And we have... this is, again, anonymous. Adam and John, I'd like to say thank you for keeping me sane these past few weeks with a donation of $50. I guess she's on the list. It's been a while since my last donation. I'm a registered nurse at a major medical center in Los Angeles. As of Friday, we have 8 cases of COVID in the hospital. Every morning I walk past these zip-up white tents they've erected outside looking for activity. So far, I've seen 1 person going into a tent. I do, of course, remain hopeful the case numbers remain low. I learned an interesting tidbit about the much sought-after masks in our morning meeting yesterday. Apparently, we have an abundant supply of them. However, the 5th floor, that is the deep state of this hospital, are rationing them out. Yes, the 5th floor, it's where those in power stay, never to be seen. Oh, it doesn't sound too busy in that particular medical center, Cook County, Illinois. I live in suburban Chicago. Not exactly the hotbed that New York City is, but there are over 1,900 cases in Cook County. 1,900 cases in Cook County. 2 of my friends are nurses at different suburban Cook County hospitals. Both are either on reduced hours or on vacation. The reason? No work. All elective or discretionary services at the hospitals are over. Only emergency and COVID work is being done. Most of the floors are empty. The media would have you believe that every hospital is storing people in the hallways and it looks like Armageddon. Yes, that is what's embedded in your mind. And you saw it on the TikTok videos a couple months ago. That's what's in your brain. It's embedded there. I have it too. I can't help it. That's really not the case in a lot of places. I'm not saying it won't get there maybe, and it won't be all neck deep soon, but I don't see it that way now. Tomorrow might be a new day. Then we have clinician Jason. We are all seeing the constant posts and news about healthcare professionals running out of masks and gloves, and you've possibly asked yourself, how does a hospital run out of masks so quickly? Do they prepare for this? The answer is no. The white collars who work in the executive suite of hospitals went to business school, were taught and implemented Sigma Psi, lean process improvement, and especially Toyota's just-in-time inventory management, which usually provides only 1 to 2 weeks of inventory supply to make things look better on the balance sheet. Works very well when the world is running perfectly. Don't work so well in a time like this. Who would have thunk? While the lab people, and perhaps doctors and nurses, have been forced to undergo training and testing on how to react during some sort of microbial attack or catastrophe since 9/11, the corporate side couldn't bother to throw a few extra cases of masks in the basement in event there's a sudden run on them or a short interruption in the supply chain. So when healthcare providers start getting sick or worse due to lack of personal protective equipment, don't blame the preppers, China, or even the CEOs who sent our manufacturing there. I do. Blame the suits who work in the same facility as the doctors getting sick, who are also considered non-essential employees who get to sit home during all of this. We've been forced to train for an event like this for almost 20 years, and places are running out of masks in days because someone thought it was a good idea to implement the same inventory management auto manufacturers use in hospitals that provide essential emergency health care. And Kirkland, Washington? Well, the Washington healthcare system is apparently announcing layoffs amid the COVID-19 outbreak. It's so crazy busy. And pre the coronavirus, California had mobile hospitals. They had 50 million masks, 2,400 ventilators, kits to set up 21,000 additional beds. Yeah, but they sold them all. So stop already. And this is the administrators and people in the hospitals pushing this out to the media because they know their ass is on the line. If, and looking at the new model, if it is as bad as originally predicted, then they would look pretty stupid. That's all this is about, and they're flooding the media with it, and they're scaring people in the process. It's beautiful. Well done, everybody. No wonder you're losing your ass. Well, not the people who are hosting it. They're much richer than we are, but...
Actually, the guys losing their ass is going to be us.
I didn't want to mention that, but yes, that's possible. So those are
the clips I have today are about some of the industries that are going to be screwed.
Oh, yay! Let's look at that.
Well, it's something to look at because there's nothing you can do about it. But it's good to know what they are. And then there's also a kind of contrarian reports. It turns out that Al Jazeera is the best place for a lot of this stuff.
Interesting you say that. Yeah, I found some clips on Al Jazeera as well. Well, most of the U.S. news is just one thing. That's it. And they don't even say Orange Man bad anymore. It's just orange. That's it.
I do want to play this. So this is kind of this guy sent a note to his. This is a doctor in New York at one of the top hospitals, and he sent a note to his family, which went viral, and it's an hour long. But I took a clip from it. It's about how to catch the disease, and I thought it was interesting. It's a good educational piece. We can take a break from complaining, and the guy is the COVID guy. And that's all he does is work on COVID cases. And he thinks it's actually not that easy to catch.
Oh, wait a minute. This is the guy. Is he on the Banyan podcast from time to time, this guy? This doctor?
I don't know.
Yeah,
this
I think
Dr.
so.
Price.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he's done some of the hydroxychloroquine testing as well.
No, that could be. Yeah. Well, here he is telling you how to get COVID.
So I think the first thing is, how do you get COVID?
You actually said COVID. You know that, right?
Yeah,
I said COVID because I wrote it down on the clip.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is, how do you get COVID? And I think that this is really important, and we've really learned a lot over the last couple of weeks to months about how you get this disease. And so the overarching theme is sustained contact with someone who has this disease, which the vast majority is people with fever and aches, or someone who is about to get the disease. So someone in the next 1 to 2 days who is going to develop symptoms of this disease. And so the way that you get this is the transmission of the virus almost exclusively from your hands to your face. From your hands to your face. And so it's either into your eyes, into your nose, or into your mouth. So there's a lot of talk about contact or getting it through contact, hands to face. There's also a small thought that it can be aerosolized, that it can kind of exist a little bit in the air. The thought at this point is that you actually have to have very long, sustained contact with someone. And I'm talking about over 15 to 30 minutes in an unprotected environment, meaning you're in a very closed room without any type of mask, for you to get it that way. But to very simply state, the overwhelming majority of people are getting this by physically touching someone who has this disease or will develop it in the next 1 to 2 days, and then touching their face. And so that actually, I think, is incredibly empowering. And that's, as I've been in the hospital the last 2 days, the thing that makes me smile a little bit is that I actually know now that I won't get this disease.
Yeah, this guy needs to stay away from hot tubs, small aviation, etc., because this is not the way it's supposed to be communicated, and this is not how social distancing works.
Well, yeah, there is that. And where's this? It stays in the air for 24 hours. If you touch a dollar bill, you'll get it.
I mean, I seriously, I can't watch it anymore. It's just zero value. Zero value. Sky News has a little bit better. RT, AJ, Al Jazeera. The U.S. media is completely worthless, and I hope they're held to account when this is all over.
Well, the tail of the tape will be down at Javits Center. They're turning it into a giant hospital.
Yeah, which is completely empty. That's where Cuomo...
Which is completely empty.
Yeah, it's where Cuomo does his press conferences from. There's no one there. Now, he says this is for the surge that's coming. And the media surge is there, which is fueled by the damn chart with the blotches of red everywhere and the increased testing. If we're testing 100,000 people a day, it's going to look like it's spiking. Anyway, it's hard enough for us to just see through it. I'm sure people who don't listen to the No Agenda Show or similar programs, if they're out there, they're probably terrified.
I think they are.
In fact, I'm pretty sure people are terrified.
Yeah.
And
people always say, "Why aren't you scared?" I get that from somebody, No. Oh, you should be. Why? I don't get it. Okay, whatever. I don't know what. It's beyond me. Let's play this. This is a clip because what you just said about the testing. I want you to listen to this clip. This is a real short clip from Amy Goodman, and it's called Corona in USA. And I want you to listen to the logic of this.
The number of cases in the U.S. has surged to 85,000 people. The number is far higher because of the lack of testing.
Wow. The lack of testing. It's at 100,000 a day. But the media, including Amy, want more testing. More testing. And the shills who are like Nancy Pelosi. More testing. So we can show it's getting worse because she wants a fourth bill, mind you. She and Maxine Waters want a fourth coronavirus rescue bill. So they need to have more terror, more fear. And of course, this will all surround the president's, wishful statements of going back to work, at least being ready to raring to go by Easter, April 12th. No. This is now being politicized, of course.
He's trying to kill us, the bad orange man.
Now look.
Wait, one more Amy clip since we get out of the way.
Sure.
This is Corona deaths in Trump.
Yeah, well, good.
The number of cases in the U.S. has surged to 85,000 people. The number is far higher because of the lack of testing. As President Trump continues to defy his scientific advisors and downplay the threat of the highly contagious disease, at least 1,300 people have died across the U.S., and the global death toll is more than 24,000.
Okay, so this is egregious. Let me just play that at the beginning again.
The number of cases in the U.S. has surged to 85,000 people. The number is far higher because of the lack of testing. As President Trump continues to defy his scientific advisors and downplay.
This is a lie. It's just a lie. It's not even close to true. That's unbelievable.
The threat of the highly contagious disease. At least 1,300 people have died across the U.S., and the global death toll is more than 24,000.
I have
and that's Trump's fault too, by the way.
Oh, of course it is. And this is going to come in. Let me see. Well, if you want, I mean, it's being politicized here. Might as well play it. Nancy Pelosi on CNN. And remember, she is setting up two things. She's setting up another, like a real boondoggle bonanza bill, which I don't think we need anymore, or we should see somewhere, but it's already in her head, and she's ready for impeachment. Again, when you hear politicians in a true crisis politicizing, I'd love to see if you can point towards wartime. This has been declared a war by the media, by politicians, by the president, by multiple leaders, so it's a war. If you hear politicizing going on, then it's really not that dire. And I think in real war, you don't hear going on what Nancy Pelosi says here to Jake Tapper on CNN.
Trump is considering relaxing federal guidelines for coronavirus for some of the less affected parts of the country. Do you think he should?
Well, first of all, let me just say how sad it is that even since the president's signing of the bill, the number of deaths reported has doubled from 1,000 to 2,000 in our country. This is such a very, very sad time for us. So we should be taking every precaution. What the president, his denial at the beginning was deadly. His delaying of getting equipment to where it continues, his delay in getting equipment to where it's needed is deadly.
So, this is unbelievable. Just showed you that's not true, but his delaying of equipment getting to where it needed to get to is deadly. A lie by any account. By any account. No one has died because it didn't have a ventilator. This is so... Pelosi is really an evil human being.
And now I think the best thing would be to do is to prevent more loss of life rather than open things up so that, because we just don't know. We have to have testing. That's what we said from the start before we can evaluate what the nature of it is in some of these other regions as well. I don't know what the purpose of that is. I don't know what the scientists are saying to him. I don't know what the scientists said to him. When did the president know about this? And what did he know? What did he know and when did he know it? That's for an after-action review. But as the president fiddles, people are dying. And we just have to take every precaution.
So as the president fiddles, which is her reference to Nero as Rome burned, is that what she's saying?
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what she's saying.
Unbelievable. And... well, we'll figure out what he knew, when he knew it, why he didn't act after the fact, because there's going to be another inquiry. Why the hell should we stop with that? Jeez. Meanwhile, there's even some thinking that the botched testing, which was completely contained within the Centers for Disease Control, may actually have been sabotage towards the president. Wouldn't surprise me.
Now, the former Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services for Preparedness and Response tells Sinclair exclusively why he believes the testing process was held up for so long.
In my conversations with members of the task force, both inside and outside the administration, and the U.S. government, from Secretary Azar to the president, relied on the Centers for Disease Control to produce a test. They failed. CDC said they would handle it. And what we have found out is these leaders at the CDC lied to both the HHS secretary and, by extension, the president. And as a result, the nation got weeks behind.
Dr. Robert Redfield, director of the CDC, was briefed on Sinclair's reporting. A spokesman responded by saying it is Meekins, the former HHS official, who is trafficking in misinformation. CDC rapidly developed a diagnostic test for CDC and the nation's public health labs, the statement said. Today, more than 89 public health labs in 50 states and the District of Columbia are using the COVID-19 test. CDC encouraged our government partners to work with the private sector. We regret that some are being misinformed during a time when CDC and our U.S. government partners are working 24/7 to protect Americans. However, in his round of televised interviews Sunday, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top official for infectious diseases, let it be known that the administration's experience with CDC in the development of testing was an unhappy one.
I would hate to think that government employees inside the Centers for Disease Control purposely misled the director, who looked pretty glum. Looked pretty well. Yeah, that's what I mean. You worked in a government job. When you screw something up like that, what do you do?
Well, there's a couple of things. Did you screw it up on purpose just because you don't like this president, which is a lot of people are like? I mean, there are certain people I've chat with who seem very normal, but they hate the president in a very irrational way. And they would love to see him get rid of the guy. And I could see people doing this in an agency.
Well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Like the boss.
Give him the benefit of the doubt. So it was a mistake. What do? You cover it up?
Well, after the mistake, you tend to find a rationale for it happening.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like you go out and admit it.
No. Well, they also didn't deny it. They just said, that guy's lying. They didn't deny it, at least not according to the report.
I'm more suspicious than that, because we've seen not 3 years of this sort of thing by what they're generally called the deep state. But just these old technocrats that have been in there forever, and they worry about the slimming down of agencies and cutting budgets and all the rest of it that Trump seems to threaten. And I can see these guys working against the president. They just work against him.
There seems to be a huge
muddy up the gears.
There seems to be a huge discrepancy in how the dead are counted and what the cause of death is attributed to. We already know about Italy, that they pretty much just said everything's COVID. Everything's COVID-19. Spain's national health.
But just before you go on with those numbers, and you also point out that most of the people are over 80. You said that in an email. In Italy, the number that we got a couple of weeks ago was that 19% of the people dying might have COVID. That number has been reduced to 12.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you look on social media, the keeper pointed out to me today, person after person is mad because there's their loved one in a press briefing, like a little, a blurb, an obituary, died of coronavirus. Like, that's my dad. He didn't die of coronavirus. As just account after account. So these hospitals are not only counting every death as coronavirus, they're publicizing it.
Well, I believe that there is some sort of EU scam going on by these outliers, and I would put Italy in that category because the EU has not treated Italy well.
Yes. Now you get there.
And Spain, when I was visiting last time when I was in Madrid, we were driving around these beautiful new buildings that were financed by the EU, and my hosts were pretty much implying that they had no intention of ever paying the EU back. They did not like the EU, but they liked their money. And so Spain is following suit. I think the Spanish numbers are just like the Italian numbers. They're bogus. They want to get some cash.
Well, Spain's National Health Institute has told their coroners to not perform autopsies because it's a biohazard. Germany changed their way of counting COVID-19 deaths midway somewhere, including persons who have been in contact with COVID-19 positive individuals and showing symptoms. If you die then, I'm sure it was coronavirus. But you brought up the EU. This is an important point because there's some big game stuff happening as well. There's a lot of big things happening in the background that of course, our media is not paying attention to. And what is really happening in the European Union? Nigel Farage, now a citizen of the country formerly in the European Union, the United Kingdom. He was on, I think, an Australian interview. Listen to what he has to say.
There was such a wave of optimism. The property market was turning. Things were happening. And now, of course, we've got this crisis to deal with. But all I can say is, thank goodness we're not in what is going to be after this an even more German-dominated European Union. We may have our problems, all of us, but at least we're free. When it comes to death, to put it frankly, that is a national thing, not some vague concept of a supranational state. And that's why you've seen borders being reimposed and all the rest of it. I always thought the European Union would come crashing down. I always thought this sort of move towards global governance was baloney. I never imagined it would take a serious global illness to finally finish it off. But there is a danger here, a real danger, and it's this. You know, when Germany refused to export medical masks to Italy, despite the desperate state they were in, guess who stepped into the breach? The people who caused it, the Chinese. And what we're seeing over much of the world is China now acting as the charitable godfather, dishing out money, dishing out medical equipment, and trying to use this crisis to gain global power. And I wouldn't want to see, the idiots in Brussels replaced by Chinese communism dominating the world even more than it does today.
And there's a real risk of some of that happening, not to the extreme he's saying, I don't think. But that's exactly what's happening. The Schengen agreement, you might as well just throw it out. That's a big part of the European Union, of the concept, is that there's no borders. That's done. Germany's got checkpoints everywhere. Everyone's going to have their checkpoint. They're bringing it right back. Not that we're any different, by the way. There's a real danger of this kind of stuff happening in the U.S.
And here in southern New England, some residents are concerned about people from New York coming here and potentially spreading the virus.
And starting tomorrow, Governor Gina Raimondo has ordered the National Guard to go door to door in coastal communities looking for people from New York. And today, state troopers began pulling drivers over if they have New York license plates.
Tara Kopi drove up from Staten Island to pick up a new puppy for her family. She was given a packet by the National Guard.
That 14-day rule.
Saying that New Yorkers are required to quarantine for 14 days if they plan on staying in the Ocean State.
I feel bad that New York is getting such a bad rap sheet when it's really all over the place.
The ACLU of Rhode Island called the order by Governor Raimondo unconstitutional, a claim she disputed Friday, saying it's what needs to be done with New York City just 180 miles away.
It's consistent with all the guidance we're getting from the federal government and from experts, and it's what I know to be necessary in order to keep Rhode Islanders safe.
I sure hope we don't go to shutting off states from each other. But
Jay Inslee wants to shut off Washington.
Yeah, well, it's possible. It's possible.
But why? It's all in Kirkland. Just quarantine Kirkland.
Let's talk about social distancing for a moment. I was incorrect. I thought it was only a U.S. term, which I thought was
it's apparently
bad enough.
Oh no, it's
an international term.
Yeah,
which is it just makes it that more evil. Social distancing is not what you're doing. In fact, we're trying to be very social with each other. You are distancing yourself from somebody. This is a very evil neuro-linguistic programming, New World Order kind of term.
I agree. I think it should be called physical distancing.
Whatever you want to call it, social distancing is not okay. But what is happening, actual social distancing is taking place. Christina says in Rotterdam, she went to the grocery store, and it's horrible. You have stripes and lines and stickers everywhere where you can stand as you're walking through.
Stand on the X.
And they have watchers. Hey,
you're getting too close to that person. Step back, step back, step back.
And everyone's looking at each other with distrust and an evil stink eye. That's the result of social distancing, if you want to call it that, and you want to put that into people's heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really evil, this term.
So let's go over my experience going out to the different stores for picking up booze and food.
Yeah.
So I noticed a couple of places they're very friendly about it. Like I went to Total Wines to get some cognacs, and they had they had X's on the ground, but they weren't making a big fuss. They would say they might tell them to move along or something like that. There's lines now in front of most of the grocery stores because they're keeping a minimum number of people, and the lines are all separated by 6 feet, and it's stupid. I won't stand in one.
Hey, by the way, that's outside. I'm in Rotterdam. Shit's
that's
inside.
outside. No, it's outside. And inside you got the lines at the cash register the same way. So I find a store I can get in and get out of. And of all places, it's the giant Asian supermarket, 99 Ranch.
Empty.
There's no lines. And because it's an Asian store, every Asian in the store is wearing a mask.
You're safe. You're safe and good to go over there.
So you're very safe in there because everyone's wearing a mask and everyone's got gloves on, and the store's bustling, and it's just fine. It seems very normal in there, except for everyone wearing the mask, and there's no long lines. It's fantastic. And so I was really pleased with that little discovery. Kind of counterintuitive.
Here in Texas, it's still very laid back. You can go out, drive around. There's not much is open except for food. We've been going to curbside pickup from the restaurants we went to previously, and this is something I would recommend. If there's a restaurant that you've been to and you're going to use their pickup service or takeout, just leave them a tip that's equal to what you'd normally pay in that restaurant because their money comes from booze. The keeper and I have 2 glasses of wine. That's $26 right there at almost any restaurant you go to. So add that on because that's the money they're really losing.
The booze ripoff, as I would call it.
Well, sure, it's
how they make their money.
Yeah, but it's exactly. Now, so the social distancing is this global experiment is just awe-inspiring to watch how we've all decided to do this, even though there's not really regulations in the United States. So I did get a criminal prosecutor hounding me saying, in Virginia, the governor actually can force you to stay home. The governor has put all kinds of tricky stuff into their state laws. But in general, people are staying inside. But, we have to keep an eye on them. We have to get them used to their future. So in the Netherlands, on the beaches, they're using drones to disperse people who are on the beach. In the UK, I actually got a little audio of the drone taking off and of its giant voice system, which is not that giant.
This is a message from the Portfolio Council. Please follow the government rules at this time. You must stay home. Only be outside for food, for health reasons, for exercise, alone or with members of your house. Stay home, slave.
Now, here's the joke of it. In both the UK, where I got that audio, and the Netherlands, it's like a drone. It's like like a 3-foot diameter drone, if that. There's 3 people to operate the thing. They're standing right there, flying the drone over to a group of people, and then the drone goes, "You must stay home." There's 3 people standing there who could go up to the group and say, "Hey, no. We have to get you used to this drone idea."
Wow.
Very odd. This is not like a Reaper drone flying overhead. John, it's one that, it's like a amateur pro kind of deal. It's just it's got a speaker and it's got a camera, and if there's still 3 people on the ground, it's like, here we go.
Attention, citizens of Gitmo Nation. Stay indoors. Disperse, citizens. Disperse.
So it's a total exercise in mentality, training people. This is your life. You should be ready for it.
Yes, this is not good. I should mention a couple other things going on around, like in the Pacific Northwest. Mimi's bitches about this constantly, and it is the locals, hicks, we'll call them in this case. Mm-hmm. They are narking on any little business that thinks it has a right to stay open or needs to stay open.
Narking, I forgot to mention. UK and Netherlands. Too. Yep, local governments have set up narc websites so you can narc on your neighbors. Exactly what we predicted. Exactly.
All you have to do is look at Cuba and see how that society went. You get the whole thing happening here.
How about World War II? How about the Nazis? How about the collaborators? How about the NSB who were, I don't know, that person looking like they're going outside. Yeah, could be a Jew.
And she says it's mostly old women
who are narking.
Yeah,
of course.
Oh, yeah, they told us to be inside, and they're not.
Exactly. So, but that's social. That's why it's called social distancing, because it includes social control, and the control is coming from the group itself. There's got to be some psychologist amongst our producers who can tell us that how this is. I'm sure this tactic has been used in the past. This is not something new at all. It's very, very now. So now we have the new player on the scene, who's not the new player. He's the guy that's really behind a lot of this. I think a lot of the fear due to the perfect setup, the alley-oop of Event 201, the pandemic exercise, the $100 million in the World Health Organization, good buddies with Tedros. I'm talking about Bill Gates. Bill Gates is now doing media interviews. So
I saw him on something the other day, and he was like a useless functionary on one of the CNN shows.
Oh, you're talking about the coronavirus town hall, which was with Anderson Cooper and Sanjay Gupta. It was a virtual town hall, because they couldn't actually have a town hall. It was a virtual.
It looked like 3 guys in a box to me.
3 boxes, that's right. That is now 3 boxes, a town hall maketh. So here is Bill Gates discussing social distancing, quarantining, but definitely not getting out of jail anytime soon.
Well, let's say you have 100 cases, and let's say you don't do a shutdown, then it grows 33% per day. So you take 100, you get 1,000, you get 10,000. It's exponential growth. If you're not stopping it, the sooner you engage in the shutdown, the easier it is to get to that peak. We have not peaked. The parts of the country that aren't shut down, in late April, we should start to see the numbers peak there. They'll still be too high to open up, so you'll probably have to go another month to really get those numbers down. But any part of the country that has cases, and truthfully, because of our problems with testing, because we're not prioritizing testing the right way, that a lot of those places actually do have cases. But even if they have the 100, that will grow, and people do cross county boundaries. And so basically the whole country needs to do what was done in the part of China where they had these infections.
So he's talking about end of May, that we should stay inside. By the way, nice 33 mention there. Bill's always in there. They'd never asked him, nor did he ever explain, although he brought it up several times in his virtual town hall, what the prioritized testing means exactly. And all you get, just...
Wait. He said prioritize in the right way.
Yeah.
Which narrows it down even more, and he should have been grilled on it.
He was not asked. He didn't offer it. I'm yelling at the TV. Didn't help. But he's full of shit. He's full of shit because he contradicts himself in the next bit about this staying at home. We got to stay at home like the countries who were successful did it.
We keep hearing that the virus is going to dictate the timeline. Dr. Fauci has said that. When you look at this virus, we got 3.5 months worth of data.
When he said that, but I should mention this, when he said Dr. Fauci said that, for some unknown reason,
he
Bill
laughed.
Put a big,
he laughed.
He laughed.
With a very odd, like Cheshire cat kind of smile. I saw it too. And I didn't understand why. I was like, but Fauci is in the deal with him. Fauci is a part of the Bill Gates system.
Probably Bill got a kick out of hearing Fauci get some free PR.
No, there you go. That would be the most innocuous reason he was laughing, but yeah.
When you look at this virus, we got 3.5 months worth of data now, 150 countries. If you apply all the analytics that Microsoft, all the analytics that
this is Sanjay Gupta, the big medical doctor on CNN. Hey man, if you apply all the analytics, like Microsoft, don't you have like a computer company? You can do some crunching of the numbers. Dick.
If you apply all the analytics that Microsoft, all the analytics that we can possibly apply to this, is how this is going to sort of progress and end knowable? I mean, can you give a clear answer depending on what sort of mitigation measures we have in place?
Hey, Bill, you're a really rich man. Surely you can give me the answers. I mean, you can crunch some numbers. I mean, just crunch some numbers.
It's very likely that rich countries who uniformly throughout their country do a serious shutdown, that they will be able to avoid a high percentage of their population getting infected. That's what the exemplars, like some of the work in China and South Korea, are telling us.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. South Korea didn't shut down the whole country.
No, they didn't shut down anything.
No, they had small pockets of quarantine. I looked it up because when I heard that, I'm like, that's your exemplar? The Knights exemplar is China, who shut down their provinces, but South Korea, who arguably have given us more information that is trustworthy than China. Well, if that's your information, then you're full of crap, Bill Gates, because they had an app. Dr. Drew knows how we're going to get back to work.
Best way or safe way for us to go back to work, that is, as I've said from the very beginning, that's going to be the toughest putt in this whole thing. How we do that, we're going to probably do something like what South Korea did, which is using technology and testing. There should be 3 T's. So it's treatment, technology, and testing. And we'll have ways of monitoring people, whether they have antibodies, whether they have virus, whether they've been treated, whether they have viral shedding, whether they've resolved the illness. I mean, we're going to have all kinds of, we're probably going to, I imagine sort of multicolored wristbands or something that we can identify who's safe and who's not, who we should distance from, who we shouldn't. And there should be technology around that too. If you saw, again, I mentioned this yesterday, Dr. Birx said day before yesterday that she had been doing this in Africa and had been very successful. And if she can do it in countries that are undeveloped, certainly we can do it here.
Yes, well, the wristband is a cute idea, Dr. Drew, but no. Eventually we'll get to the chip, and that's what everyone's worried about, but not even in our lifetime. That'll be our kids' lifetime, probably. No. Everyone's already gladly downloaded the app, the COVID-19 app, which was promoted universally by Apple, by Google, Roku, Amazon Alexa. Of course, I repurposed an iPhone just for this reason, to see the app, see what it was doing. Seems like it's only communicating with one IP, one server, which is aptly named covid19.cdn.something.apple.com. And this is where they get their initial information from you. Of course, your phone, all the ID information, everything's in there. I can't reverse engineer the app, but you know it's in there. That's how we start. And it's going, I think almost every state in the United States has now evaluated their data protection, their cell phone data, and said, fuck it. We're just going to get as much data as we can. We're forcing the phone companies to give it to us, or whatever commercial company will give it to us. We can buy it from. And we're starting to put up maps so we can have people make sure that there's no one roaming around their neighborhoods and can narc on you or shoot you, maybe. That's how it starts. And it's everywhere. But new data health rules. Something changed. It's always fantastic how this coincidence takes place. Let me see. This New York Times article, let me check the date on it, is from March 9th. In a move intended to give Americans greater control over their medical information, the Trump administration announced broad new rules on Monday that will allow people for the first time to use apps of their choice to retrieve data like their blood test results directly from their health providers. The Department of Human Health and Human Services said their new system was intended to make it as easy for people as possible to manage their health care on smartphones as it is for them to use apps to manage their finances. But here is what is interesting. Once you take the information out of the system, which is regulated by HIPAA, H-I-P-P-A, that's the very strict data privacy rules for health data. Once you take it out of that realm, it's almost like an open source license. You get it from your doctor. It's on your phone. Once it's on your phone, you hand it to one other person. There's no HIPAA. Even on your phone, there's no HIPAA. If some other app gets a hold of it, done. This is how they're going to integrate. Because, of course, everybody you're going to be encouraged to download your health data. Encouraged. and you're going to have it, and there'll be all these apps, and I should probably put that in there. And then before you know it, you'll be tagged as a possible infected PI, possible infected human resource over there.
Little dot in the map.
Opportunity Zone 33.
What's he doing over there? What's he doing at that store?
Poland has we know that South Korea has an app. We have the U.S. app. I think it's a coordinated effort. I don't know if they're going to let states do their own. We have this secretive group that's working on behalf of the governors, which I'm getting updated on continuously. And they're looking at a hybrid app of social distancing. By the way, 6 feet is an interesting choice of distance. Isn't that how far you're supposed to be buried? Is that how far the casket goes down? Is 6 feet deep?
Deep 6 feet under, my friend. 6 feet under.
6 feet under, deep 6. There you go. Poland.
Deep 6.
Poland made an app for quarantined coronavirus patients. So you're told to download the app when you leave the hospital or whenever you get your test, and you have to upload selfies on a regular basis. The app will go beep beep beep. Time for your selfie. And then you have to upload your selfie into the app so that they can see where you are. You have to show the background.
Really?
Yeah.
How about this for an idea?
There's plenty of ideas, believe me. Plenty of ideas.
What? What's this? Yeah, you got to use this. What? Speak up. What? Phone? Okay, I got my phone here. What am I supposed to do? Download the app. Well, how do I go about downloading the app?
My flip phone doesn't do apps.
Well, but even if let's say you have if you have the flip phone, boom, you're done. And you do it. You show me how to do it and give me the flip phone.
No, if you got the flip phone, then you get your Corona bracelet. Trust me, they're not going to let you go. Infected human resource.
There's ways you can get. If you're old, if you're over anything old, you're old. I'm old. I can't use this app. Oh, and then you wait. You have to send a selfie every hour?
Yes.
Take a picture of your dog and send it in every hour. A picture of your dog. I thought that's what you meant. You said that's what you meant. You want a picture of my dog? I don't know why.
No, it's going to be this.
Everybody in Cleveland, low minority, got Obama phone. Keep Obama in president, you know. He gave us a phone.
Oh, Obama phone coming. That's what we're getting.
There's no way. The public rebels against this sort of thing. I mean, there's some dummies out there that'll go along with anything, but jeez.
However,
I want to, before you continue, I got to stop you because I have to, you brought something up with the Gates clips.
Okay.
And it was Gates going on about how we need this kind of coordinated effort. And this is one of the themes I want to get to today, which is some of the kind of unexpected outcomes of this whole event, and one of them we've talked about it before, which is global governance.
Yep. Oh, did you see Gordon Brown?
No. Do you have a clip?
I wish I had a clip. No, Gordon Brown wrote a huge op-ed calling for global governance. We needed a global government during these trying times.
And here it comes right from your boys in the UN. This is the PBS Promotes Global Governance clip.
Oh, hold on. What is it called?
PBS.
Okay.
Coronavirus pandemic has hit the globe at a time of massive refugee crises, confrontation between the world's great powers, and armed conflicts in many countries. How does one coordinate a global response to an invisible enemy? For answers, I spoke earlier today with someone grappling with this and much more. He's Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations. Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much for joining us. You told the leaders of the world's richest nations yesterday that every country on earth is in a fight against this coronavirus, but not winning it. Why not? And do you think it's a fight that can be won?
Well, this is a fight that can be won, and the demonstration is that it has been won already in some parts of the world. But it requires a very clear strategy. And the strategy must be to suppress the virus, and the strategy that needs to be adopted by all countries in coordination, following the guidelines of the World Health Organization.
And he goes on. It has to be done by all following the guidelines. These guys, and I'm now convinced the media and this hatred of Trump in many ways is really the globalists fighting back. That's why they don't care if they make any money.
Here's the Guardian article. Gordon Brown calls for global government to tackle coronavirus, as Gordon Brown urged world leaders to create a temporary form of global government to tackle the twin medical and economic crises caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, that's a panicky thing.
Yeah, and the way it works is you try. Well, look, it worked because, of course, this whole thing is overblown, and so you put a global system together, and it worked. We should just do this, use it for more things, and then more things, and then pretty soon let them take over the place. This is a futile. I mean, I admire their attempts at this in some sick way, but it's like it's almost offensive when you start really looking into the loss of sovereignty and all the other things, the reason nations exist in the first place. Yeah. I mean, it's just not happening. I wish.
I don't think they're done trying. I don't think they're done trying,
and they don't keep. And they get a guy. Trump was a real problem because he is an anti-globalist from the get-go.
Yeah.
And even though he's an international business guy, but he sees the problems.
Well,
and meanwhile, the Democrat Party's all in on this idea.
And I'll remind you, just because it came from you, the outcome of the Bill Gates Open Society Institute, Harvard Event 201. The outcome was global governance will bring everybody together and solve it. That was their outcome. Not at all what's happening in reality. That was their model, and that was, I think, what they were ready for. That's what the policy papers said.
Yeah, well, they were hoping for it.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come up with a better bug than this one. It does remind me, though, of the couple of see if I got this. There's this. It was an interesting. What is it on here? Tom Clancy. This in 2013. There was this trailer made for The Division, Tom Clancy story,
and
it kind of like was pre-programming everybody for the coronavirus thing. And there's an element in here that makes it interesting. And play this clip. It's Tom Clancy.
Money. Americans can spend $90 billion in a single day of shopping. Last year, 200 million people swarmed their local stores on November 23rd. We call that day Black Friday. Did you know that a flu virus can survive on the surface of a banknote for up to 17 days? One day there will be a pandemic. It could begin during the crush of Black Friday sales. A pathogen will jump from tainted banknotes to human skin, onto food, toys, children, and loved ones. By the time patient zero feels the first sore throat, millions of people will already be infected. From this point, the breakdown will happen fast.
Day 1. Hospitals will reach capacity. Panic will strike. Day 2. Quarantine zones will be established. Resources will be rationed. Transport will go into lockdown. Day 3. International trade will stop. The oil will dry up. The stock market will collapse. Day 4. The power will fail. The shelves will be empty. The taps will run dry. And once hunger and despair take hold, people will do anything for survival. By day 5, everyone will be a potential threat.
It's kind of interesting how Black Friday would have put us in kind of in the beginning, if not the first week or two of spread in the U.S.
Yeah, well, that was a nice coincidence.
I gotta talk to Pachenik.
Now, this 17-day virus lasting on a dollar bill, that's bull crap.
No, of course. But that's just one of the obvious outcomes. This is not government mandated. The people themselves are saying, I don't want to touch cash. They've been made of, and thank you, World Health Organization, Tedros. He said it himself. Well, don't touch the money. Corona cash, everybody. You don't want your Corona cash.
Again, leading to global governance. If you can get rid of the individual bills, I mean, that's what the Eurozone was all about.
Thank you.
And luckily, a couple of countries, including Great Britain, just said, I don't want to be in the Eurozone because this is not good. and they didn't join, and so they still have the British pound, and so they can extract themselves. Other countries that are part of the Eurozone will have nothing but trouble trying to get out of the EU. They don't have their own money anymore.
So there's a couple. Do you have some more of these things? I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, I'm going to.
I wish I had more of that one.
Yeah.
It's just the numbers. It reminds me. I'm going to go back and get that event, whatever
201
or 201, and get the projected numbers. Because by now, if you use the models that were out there, including the one that's now debunked, we should have 1 million dead people in this country.
Yes. Yeah.
More.
Where
are they? Where's the 1 million dead?
Well, they're not.
They're coming 21 days from now. So mark the calendar. In 21 days, that's the surge.
No. The surge.
That's what Cuomo said.
Yeah. Well, the surge is being created by the testing, so it's completely within our own hands. You want a surge?
Yeah,
test more.
Right, you test more.
Test more, you got a surge.
Amy says just the opposite.
Yeah, no testing, that's why we have a surge. It's worthless. I hope the takeaway for some people in the world of this exercise, and I say exercise on purpose, is that you really can't trust your normal information sources the way we used to. And luckily, what we're finding out is we are pretty good at, we are pretty good at parsing information. And it's not like it's secretive. It's not like it's written on web pages with .htm extensions and blink tags. No, it's the University of Oxford Press. It's actual information put out by the people who put out the misinformation in the first place. Your media is failing you to a huge degree. Now, I think we're decent at culling some of it. We have our biases, of course. We cull as much as we can to get some real numbers, but what happened with the model where we started the show with today is irrefutable. The numbers, and the Brits are pissed. They're like, what? What? You shut down the country, and we were worried that 500,000 Brits would die, and now you're saying 20,000, and well, it doesn't look like we're going to make that. What? So this information is not even being broadcast the way it should be. This is very good news in the world of lockdown, shutdown, shut-ins, and social distancing. But what else didn't we hear? Well, there was
yes?
The Taipei Act was signed.
Oh, okay.
The Taipei Act, which basically threatens consequences for any nation that fails to recognize Taiwan as its own independent state. We're looking at you, China.
Oh, geez.
And immediately, Trump sent a warship through the Taiwan Strait to just show that we can do it. While at the same time, he's saying, yeah, I have a great relationship with President Xi. We talked to him. I talked to him for an hour. And no, it's even better than that. Hold on a second. I think I have a clip of this. It was pretty funny. Oh, maybe I don't have it. I thought I clipped it. Oh, yeah, here it is.
Mr. President, thank you. Apparently, I heard you in the press conference. You had a 9 p.m. call with President Xi of China. Let me start there. How did that go?
Well, because of you, I made it at 10:30. So that just shows you the power of stuff. That just shows when you have the #1 rated show on television, I better change things around. No, I'm talking to him at 10:30. Right after this call, I'll be talking to him.
Now, I had to mention something here. He went on Hannity for a political reason. It was really funny. People should at least know about this. A number of the networks decided they're not going to listen to Trump's
briefings,
press conferences anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He said all he does, he goes up there and he lies. So we're going, and so their technique, the idea was that let's stop giving him the attention that he needs so much because he's a narcissist. Let's just stop going to these press. That's an idea because we blame ourselves for being elected president. Let's stop going to these. And so Trump says, yeah, that's great. And he says, no one's going to be here. I'm going to just go on Hannity. And so Hannity gets this huge exclusive. It's like the exclusive press conference with the Hannity only. And so all the news network heads of the network go, what are you guys doing? How come you're giving Hannity this whole thing? You're not even going to see what president has to say. You have to report on it. And it became a big brouhaha in the media about, oh, my God, we were backing off on that idea. But it was very funny.
Well, and they already tried this once. When CNN and MSNBC didn't carry the briefing live, that must have been Tuesday, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, that's when it began, actually.
Yeah, but then the next day, Trump did the exclusive with Fox, and the day after that, everyone was like, "Oh shit, we better cover it." But yeah, it's insane, and I hear the same. And is Fauci lying? Is Birx lying? Is the CDC director lying? Is everybody lying? Who cares? We got our own facts over here. Back to Taiwan. So there are big things happening here. This happened within the past few days. The Taipei Act. Trump sends a warship, not just some clunker, through the Taiwan Straits. Also, European and U.S. Let me get the exact quote here. I want to make sure I get it right. Have refused Saudi oil. So no more Saudi oil, which, of course, is making the price drop even more because now we have a refusal. They've got a huge glut. Remember, this is the thing that it was going on in the background that really tripped the market badly was the so-called war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. And Russia, my feeling now is Russia and the U.S. are playing together to bankrupt Saudi Arabia because what is now coming out is that there could be, I got to get these terms right, like an irreparable trade difference or something. Let me see if
I like indifference.
that would be better, wouldn't it?
I think the opposite may be true, by the way, just as you continue. They may be trying to bankrupt Russia.
Either way. Someone's going to lose. It's not going to be the U.S., but Russia is routing their oil to Europe and to China. So it appears that that the Saudis are being targeted, and this could, and it's a Sputnik report from from Russia, so you understand the slant. It could be that this puts the petrodollar into some peril. The Riyadh may not be able to be pegged to the dollar as it has been since, what was it, 1973 when we start this the petrodollar. It's possible that peg may no longer work because they're just not going to be able to handle that for their economy. Which brings us to not technically in the second half, but there's a lot of talk out there that Trump would love to see the dollar get back on the gold standard or a new gold standard. And there is actually some weird reference to the gold. Is it the Gold Standard Act? Let me see what it's called. What was used to repatriate all the gold?
I have no idea. I don't remember that.
Yeah, of course, it was the Gold Standard Act was when everyone had to give up their gold.
Well, that was in the 30s. That was Roosevelt. And then,
30s.
The pegging to gold was demolished by Nixon much later.
Right. But the act itself in the 30s, there's a reference to that in the CARES Act. And it inserts the Coronavirus Act into the Gold Standard Act, which I don't understand. I'm going to hopefully find out tonight because the former New York banker, his wife, and the two of us have a Zoom video date tonight. How about that?
Well, they just come over.
No. They invited us to a Zoom video date where we're all going to have a glass of wine together on the Zoom.
Oh, that's gross.
That's great. I can't wait. It's the most hipster thing in the world to do. So there's a theory out there. And certainly if you see how much China and Russia have been gobbling up gold as fast as they can, that's been going on for a while, for years, I think. Whatever price, just give it to me. Is that this may be a way for Trump, wishful thinking or not, to get the dollar back onto some form of gold standard?
If you listen to these reports, which I have 4 clips on dollar is king, and this is a bunch of stuff you will not hear in our media about the power of the dollar. There is absolutely zero reason to do what you suggest, especially when you consider modern monetary theory, and that money is not necessarily something that has to be attached to something like gold. Okay. I'm not buying that. So let's listen to these clips because this is very interesting. This is Dollar is King AJ.
$9 trillion and counting. That's what rich nations have spent so far on the coronavirus pandemic. They're trying to make sure there's a functioning economy as they get to grips with the outbreak. Well, the damage done is likely to surpass the financial crisis, maybe even the Great Depression. What is known? It's the worst economic crisis in the last 70 years. Well, at this time, there's a rush to safety. The 11-year bull run in U.S. stock markets is over. And there's one safe haven everyone is banking on, and it's not gold, it's the dollar. For all the talk that the dollar would lose its reserve currency status, it's proved to be just that. Talk. Well, let's take a look at some examples now. Emerging markets have borne the brunt of the rush for dollars. Indonesia's rupiah lost almost 14% of its value since the beginning of the year. The Russian ruble and Mexican peso have lost a fifth of their values. The problem for emerging markets, they might want to cut interest rates to stimulate corona-hit economies, but that would undermine their currencies further. And interest payments on dollar-denominated debt has just soared, unbalancing finances. Well, sterling fell more than 10%, or to a low of $1.14, a level last seen in 1985. The UK's divorce from the European Union has broken the resilience of the pound, which was considered to be tethered to the fortunes of the continent. Well, not anymore. The best performing currency just happens to be the Argentine peso. Best performing, of course, in the sense it's fallen the least compared to other Latin American nations.
I will have you know, I have the red book, my own version, which I got off of Amazon. The No Agenda Journal by the anonymous producer. And I've put it in here, March 29th, just so I have a copy of it. Dollar to gold standard after oil glut destroys petrodollar. So it's just in there, recorded in the book.
Good.
Okay.
If you listen to this report, which comes from a Middle Eastern source, with more objectivity than we seem to have in this country, it seems as though the dollar is crushing it. And by that, if they're going to be crushing it, that means the petrodollar is going to be crushing it. So this dollar of ours is just becoming worth a fortune, which one of the reasons I believe that we could do this $2 trillion bailout is because, unbeknownst to the American public, this dollar of ours is becoming so strong. It is, and it's so dominant that it's pretty much put everybody back 30 years insofar as they're catching up.
I have all the power. I'm the dollar.
The dollar.
The dollar has all the power.
Play part two.
Now, the dollar has been the world's leading currency for more than a century. Today, more than 60% of all foreign bank reserves are in dollars. Let's find out what happened to all those challengers to the dollar's crown with Jamil Ahmed. He's the global head of currency strategy and market research at FXTM. He joins us via Skype from London. Good to have you with us, Jamil. So this crisis has shown it's just been a lot of talk about the dollar ending. It's still the world's current reserve currency of choice, right?
Absolutely, yes. Listen, the dollar not only remains the king. If this was a Game of Thrones, the dollar is on the Iron Throne. It has been on the Iron Throne for an extremely long period of time. It dominates all of the seven kingdoms under it. And this has been something that's been in play for close to a century now, since war times. And we are still 20, 30 years away from anybody being able to say that they could challenge the dollar. Yes, some currencies have made progress, but the dollar's still funded everywhere globally for so many different reasons. And we just look at the dollar performance over the past week. We had the dollar strengthened by close to 5% on a weekly basis. That's its strongest performance since 2008. Currencies such as the British pound, as a result of the dollar domination, plunged to levels that have not been seen in 35 years. Gold recently had its worst year since the late 1980s. And even the Australian dollar has lost over 20% year to date. There is no contender to the dollar. This is the end game, but the dollar strength is so strong right now, it's superior. Like if you're a sports fan, it's like watching Liverpool in the Premier League this season. There's no second challenger.
You said there, this is the end game. Hang on, Jamil. Does that mean the yuan has squandered its chance? There was a time when some were predicting the yuan could be the world's reserve currency.
This is still unlikely, and we don't see this for, even this being a possibility for the next 20 or 30 years. For as much progress as the Chinese yuan and the Chinese economy has made to global contributions over the past 20 years, it still has so much more further to go. For example, if we look at the payments of the dollars, we look at it at foreign exchange reserves, international debt, international loans, foreign exchange turnover, the dollar is still supreme. And actually the only second character that can come into play on this is the euro.
Well, let me ask you a question. If the dollar is so incredibly strong, is that not detrimental to our forthcoming new manufacturing base that will have to also be exported in order for it to be profitable as we use some of these materials in our own country, which have formerly been 100% outsourced? I think we'll come back to at least a 33% or more of a lot of things being done in the country, but that makes our goods more expensive for export.
For export, but we're not an exporting country. We're an importer. So right now it makes the imports cheaper so we can load up on imports and rebuild our infrastructure on cheap imports, because it's going to be a lot cheaper since our dollar's worth so much. And we can build up our infrastructure that way and then let it slowly turn around and go the other way so we can make our exports more appealing.
And how do you do that magical turnaround, go the other way, which means weakening the dollar?
They're just manipulated, but they don't have to do too much of it, because if everything else is so destroyed, you can pretty much control everything by the way we always do. We loan people money. We loan them our valuable dollars.
Wait. I thought we just went over and kicked someone's ass.
Well, we can do that too, but that's only if we don't take up our loans.
Oh, if you don't take our loans, we go over there and kick your ass. I thought that's what we did, man. We go, hey, look at our big guns. We got the strongest military in the world. Okay, borrow our money. I got you. Okay, we flipped the script, is what you're saying.
It's what it appears like. We've managed to pull these stunts over the years, ever since 1918, or actually since the foundation of the Federal Reserve. But let's play part 3 of this and get it. So it should be a confidence builder for people listening to the show.
But it's been a bit of a disaster. This rising dollar, a disaster for emerging markets, though, right?
It is. We have a recipe for disaster right now when it comes to emerging markets' performance and their currencies. You have a global disease outbreak that is a health disaster. This is going to contribute to a global recession, which means that there's lower growth everywhere. As a result of this, stock markets have been in free fall, which essentially means there has been no appetite towards emerging markets because they are seen as riskier assets that you don't invest in uncertain times. And with this, you've got the dollar that is strengthening across the board. Just to name you some of the casualties, the Russian ruble has declined by close to 30% this year. The Brazilian real as much as that too. The Indian rupee has hit a record low. The South African rand has weakened by 20%. And there's been simply no end in sight when it comes to prisoners against the dollar's reign here. All emerging market currencies have declined year to date. And even those that haven't declined as much, such as the Malaysian ringgit, as one example, it still has declined by beyond 5%.
Man, we're peaking. We're peak dollar.
Well, what this is doing, of course, is playing into the V theory of the stock market recovery.
It's
because you
call it a theory. Call it a theory.
Where are you going to put your money when you finally have a place to put it? But you're not going to have a lot of it. So that's why I don't think it's going to be as V as you, the banker, like to believe. But then there's this little element which comes in, it's not a catch-22. It's not a catch-22. This last clip, it's kind of like a vicious cycle. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's Horowitz and I talk about this. Why are people putting their money into the American stock market? Because it's the only thing you can put it into that has, any reliability or what? I don't know. But listen to this.
Now, explain this for us. The Federal Reserve is pumping dollars as fast as they can into the system. It's even given a commitment for what's been termed as quantitative easing infinity. Yet the thirst for dollars doesn't end. Why?
Essentially because everybody wants a dollar. Cash is king right now, and by cash that means we're sticking dollars underneath our pillowcases. That's essentially what the theory is in the market right now. Essentially, even despite two emergency Federal Reserve interest rate cuts, the Federal Reserve announcing a huge stimulus program of quantitative easing, everybody still wants the greenback. That's because the greenback is funded in so many different methods, from loans to debt to oil transactions, gold, you name it, everything's dollar dominated. And at the same point, it's been a world reserve currency for a century, since war times, and that will not change anytime soon, which gives precedent towards why everybody still wants the US dollar.
I wish you wouldn't call it a greenback. That's just factually incorrect. I don't like it.
Okay.
The greenback was something very specific, which I did like. The idea of the greenback.
That's because the back of the bill was green.
Yeah. But, they say dollars greenbacks. No. It's not the same thing.
No, that's...
Well, that's mighty interesting.
I thought so. But why do you want the dollar? Because we want the dollar. That was the kicker to me. It was like, what?
Right. Well, it's interesting how this was funny. It was a Bloomberg article, which I immediately sent to the former New York banker. So what the hell is going on with this? And the article went kind of something like this. Trump has effectively nationalized the parts of the Federal Reserve by bringing BlackRock in to manage billions of dollars in bonds and assets in the market on behalf of the Federal Reserve. And so I guess somehow the Treasury bought into it, so they have some say over it. And the conclusion from the Bloomberg article, was kind of written by a hackish and the Fed type guy, is that the ending was, congratulations, your new Fed chairman, Donald J. Trump, who would then use the BlackRock power, which is a pretty powerful outfit, to manipulate and push the Dow Jones up to 40,000 plus. It could all happen, but the former New York banker laughed his ass off at that, and he says it's interesting that people think that this is so much bigger than the 2008 bailout. He says he doesn't think so. He thinks it's comparable, may even be a little bit less, because there was way different types of assets that were distressed in the 2008 crunch. So it may look big on the piece of paper, 2.2 trillion and the 4 trillion for the Fed, but what happened in the back end of, I guess, TARP and the 2008 bailout was just astronomical. So I think that seems to not be happening. I don't know. You look at Trump and you think, God, the guy really loves America. He really loves the dollar. Would he do? I think your point is very valid. Why go to a gold standard with everybody else? And that may be the globalist theme, actually. Maybe the globalists want that.
Well, the globalists don't like what's going on.
No, because...
And they don't like this dollar situation, which they don't even want to talk about in our media, what they just explained on our, which was
why
a longer
won't we talk about
half hour.
Why aren't we celebrating that?
Because it would look good it would be good for Trump. We cannot celebrate anything that makes Trump get reelected. Although I don't even know why they even think that he's not going to get reelected. Where's Biden, by the way?
We'll get to that in a moment after I first thank you for your courage and say, in the morning to you, the man who put the C in COVID cash, John C.
You okay?
I'm okay.
In the morning to you. In the morning to all ships at sea, boosting the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and nights out there.
In the morning to our troll room. Troll count. Here we go. Let's see. We have 1,938 trolls in the troll room right now. Almost at the 2,000. Fantastic. Hello, trolls. You can find your fellow trolls at noagendastream.com. That is where everybody hangs out during the live shows. And not just our show. There's a lot of live shows. Wednesday night, Nick the Rat. Smoke a bone and listen to Nick the Rat on the live stream. Get in the troll room. It's all on the same page. And hang out with everybody. And while you're there, ask for an invite to noagendasocial.com. It's kind of our delayed response mechanism where we can also post stuff. And, people have jobs. They're looking for jobs, testing. You can post something on No Agenda. It's so nice. Someone said, hey, do you know a dude named Ben who can help me with some problem I'm having with Windows 98 and WAV files? Yeah, go to No Agendas. And I used to have to think about it.
Find some old fart to help you there.
I said, I wanted to forward the email to you. But I decided just go to noagendasocial.com. And the answer, by the way, is upgrade. And in the morning to our artist for episode 1228, we titled that Stunning. Nicole Wallace was honored with that. And this album art, which we like to change with every single episode because it draws attention to the when we post the show, certainly in all podcast apps that now adhere to the standard of showing the new art. Comic strip blogger nailed it. Which I think John, who critiques the artists with the most knowledge, will explain why this was so incredibly good. But it was Dvorak's Law portrayed very simply with the chart down, the hookers getting better looking and cheaper. And it just had everything in it. It was dynamite.
Well, it was done in a silhouette fashion, too, which was simplistic, but it also stands out as art. And it was just well done in a lot of different ways. He had a lot of elements in there that were it was really a well done piece.
And the thing with comic,
he can do. He doesn't like to do.
That's what I want to ask you about. Whenever he really tries to do something, when he's like, "Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to make really great album art this time. Ha! Watch me with my talents." It sucks. But when he does something that's almost a throwaway, and I know because he'll post I just put this together before I was going to sleep, and it's funny and it's hilarious. The stuff that he tries to target and tries to create.
Well, we talked about this as a fractal of our show. We do not really do anything other than chat. We have our own agendas. We bring our own clips. And then we ad lib an entire 3-hour show twice a week with very good material. And it's all off the cuff. And we're forced to do it that way because we know that if we don't do it this way, it would be overproduced and crappy. Yeah. Which is what most podcasts are like. It's stiff.
Most of them, yeah, it's true.
Most of them are crappy. Yeah. And it'd be stiff. It wouldn't have any flow. And, of course, we do get into tiffs once in a while that come and go. But that's beside the point. And sometimes, technically, that's good broadcasting, but nobody wants to think much of it.
No one wants to admit it. They're so triggered by reality. Yeah. You figure people who watch reality shows would be used to some actual reality. Guess what you're getting on television? It's not the same thing.
So the point is that as a fractal, it's like the best material, actually, much of it is developed on the show on the fly.
Yes.
Based on going back and forth. And so people who sit down and just get a quick inspiration and crank a piece of art out often will win this competition because they're not overthinking it. And if we overthink the show, or if we overthink anything, which is this is a very postmodern way of doing everything. And overthinking is a detriment.
Yeah, this is a true postmodern performance. This is not it's a podcast, but we're performing.
But podcasting in itself is postmodern. Yes.
So, and by the way, yes, this is exactly how comic strip blogger talks.
Yeah, it is.
And the people have confirmed it with me. So
he used to have a podcast himself.
Yeah. What was it? The anti-no agenda? What was it?
No, it was Yo Agenda.
Yo Agenda. With the Candyman, and I actually enjoyed it, and they would rag on us and talk about.
That's all they did was bitch.
That was good, and it was they don't do this, they suck. And what turned out was it's very hard to do 2 shows a week, so they gave up.
Actually, they started right at the beginning, and when we started, and then once we went to 2 shows a week, they tried to keep up, and they couldn't do it. It's very hard.
That was the part that
shows a week
tickled me the most.
Analyze 6 hours of material. It's not possible.
It's not that easy.
We're on to other topics by the time their corrections are put in place.
Analyze 3 hours, of analysis. It
constantly. Analyzing analysis.
It's not a good thing. But thank you, Comic Strip Blogger. You know that we love you. We do. And CSB has been with us for a long time, a decade. He's been with the Daily Source Code for longer.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought him with you. He's like a
virus. He's like a virus, but doesn't go away. But he's a force of nature, and we love him. And we especially are very appreciative of the artwork. And this one in particular, it's just one of those that everyone went, oh my God, we know what's going on here. The insiders who understand Dvorak's Law loved it. And even people who'd never heard of Dvorak's Law, I was like, that's got to be something interesting. So I think it helps the show, as does all of the art that we choose carefully. We choose it with ever-changing reasons, but, on the fly, as John just explained. And I want to thank Comic Strip Blogger, but all of the artists who are always diligently just trying to get something good in there. It's a competition, but it's also open twice a week, and we use the art for a newsletter, and of course noagendashop.com uses it for mugs and t-shirts and hats and hoodies. And the artists that talk amongst themselves. So there's a small community there. Oh, and it's part of that is on noagendasocial.com, which we can't can't promote enough. And thanks Aaroner for keeping that running as well. Value for value means whatever value you get out of the show, just translate that to a number. It's very different from person to person. That's why we leave it up to you, and we appreciate it no matter what it is. Certainly if you're donating something to the program, because after all, we call you producers, and the people who come in with the bigger support, we give them titles associate, executive producer, and producer, and we'll start off with our first one for today.
Before you do that, I do want to call out Darren O'Neill.
Oh, yes?
For being a triple threat, because he does art, and he does broadcasting, and he does also has been counter-producing our show.
Yeah, for Chicago Air.
For a Chicago station that we used to be on that station before, and somebody used to edit the show, and I think I'm the one who dropped the ball. So O'Neill's kind of cut out the middleman, which would have been me. Yeah, and they're getting this show done. Darren, for the extra work. The guy's a workaholic, it seems to me.
He's up there. Every Thursday, second Thursday, the Sundays, he's always doing the pre-stream. We had the handover. It's seamless. It sounds very professional for a bunch of. We're really all kind of dudes named Ben and dudettes named Bernadette. We're inherently shy and introverted, but put a mic in front of our face and we become something different.
But we do have a few people to thank, and let's thank them for being executive producers, starting with Sir Mittens of Falls City. And he came in with the number 178031.
What?
Yeah, he doesn't really explain why.
Holy crap! Well, he saved the day.
That saved the day. We didn't really have a good day today, but that really helped.
Yeah.
And and he sent a note in that got cut off, but I did find it in the email. Or actually, I did look through PayPal and found it. He's got a lot of quote marks and other kinds of characters, and I think it's what happened.
Oh, that's what makes it problematic.
Download.
Yeah.
Rhyming words for times absurd. Fuck the dumb shit, unk and buzzkill. Trump disruption, yuck. Here comes Hill. No jingles, goat karma. Short Tito's, vote pharma. Those people rough shot him. Joe's deal is Don Dada. The accounting enshrouds me with the title of Viscount. Thank you for your courage, dames, knights, and the like. Out. So,
so wait, does that mean he gets an upgrade of title?
Apparently.
Okay, because that wasn't.
No, of course not.
Of course not, because it didn't come through on the PayPal. I got you. Let me put that in.
So he'll be upgraded to Viscount. Viscount Sir Mittens of Falls City.
Yes.
He's looking for a goat karma, and that's about it.
Oh, we got that for him.
You've got karma.
It actually was an interesting rhyme that was pretty good. It wasn't structured so I could read it with the right cadence, but I think it was pretty good. And I like short Tito's.
Yes.
You need Tito's.
Viscount. Okay, he's on the list for the title change.
By the way, that doctor who went on and on about not, your hands and face, he said it was an hour. He said at one point, he says, the reason for wearing a mask in this situation is because the mask will remind you not to touch your face.
That's a good point. So you could just use a bandana then, really. Although I see people around town with bandanas, and you just know everyone's looking at them like, you idiots. That's not going to work.
Toilet paper around the face is a good one, too. Justin Fiola in Davenport, Iowa, comes in with $333, and he's got it's all in red. That means he's going to get a call out here. He's got his jingles listed. Don't eat me, Biden, Obama, and that's true. Yep. Please. Thank you for the years of deconstruction of the M5M bullshit we are fed daily. I used to listen to the boner pill peddler until I was hit in the mouth, and I haven't turned back since. Your karma has definitely worked in my life. I won't go into it for brevity, but this show works, people. I request a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
And a jobs karma for my essential and non-essential brothers and sisters. Call out to Z and Bobo.
Oops, sorry.
I'm sorry, Z was the first douchebag, and Bobo
as the second douchebag.
Chip in.
All right. Thank you very much, Justin Fiola. And here's your requested sequence.
Don't eat me, Bo Jaden. You're scary. So scary.
You might die.
That's true. Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Dr. Ellie Shaddles is next. I'm a huge fan, and this is my fabulous, hot, sexy husband, John T. Shaddles, who turned a certain age on March 30th. And this is so... Oh, okay. And so...
Wait. Did she send a picture?
No.
Well,
I'm a huge fan, and so is my fabulous, hot, sexy husband, John, who turned a certain age on March 30th. So I wanted to wish him a happy birthday on your show, over which he is absolutely obsessed. I love John Shaddles more than anything in this world, except possibly the No Agenda podcast. Yeah. Not only is my husband John hot, he is the smartest and funniest man I know, and without him, I wouldn't have been introduced to your podcast.
Oh, there you go.
I wanted to ask for him his de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
As well as some jobs karma, followed by one of your best sound bites, whichever you think is best for a wonderful human being and his birthday. We love you guys and cannot live without you. Thank you for being the best podcast in the universe.
Let's see. What is one of our best sound bites?
I don't know anything. I think Share a Secret is a good one.
Oh, okay. We can do that. Let me find the... just a jobs karma?
Yeah, jobs karma. Yeah.
My headphone's feeding back a lot today. Okay, where's the secret? I haven't played that one. What is it? Hold hands and share a secret? I can't remember.
There goes our. You rename them, and you rename them so many times, and every time you rename them, you can't find them again. It's really funny.
Because I always leave the old one in place.
Oh.
How does that click?
There's no competition.
No competition here. Competition? Yeah. I thought it was let's hold hands and tell. I can't find it. This is horrible.
Oh, no.
Give her a I got it. Okay, finally, I got it.
Oh, there's no winning. We don't like to foster a competitive atmosphere, but we laugh a lot. Now everyone hug and share a secret.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Stephanie Simons in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 20420. She's our first associate executive producer for show 1229. And she, well, it would be nice if this thing would move over.
Sending you this donation while cruising past the Dominican Republic. All right. I'm catching up on... Is she on a cruise ship? Is she on the Ocean Princess?
She might be.
The Dominican Princess? I'm catching up on a few episodes of No Agenda. Wanted to send my appreciation your way. Maybe a little karma could come our way as we hope to get back into the USA with no issues. I'm traveling with 9 other crew members. Oh, wow. Well, of course we're going to give you some get home safe karma, you bet.
You've got karma.
Sir Moser the Moserian in Bloomington, Illinois, 20329.
Do you know that I found out through Ancestry.com that after my family came over from Ireland, that they lived in Bloomington, Indiana? Oh, this is Illinois. Nice is this Illinois or Indiana? Oh, that's Illinois. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can jump in anytime. My amazing friend and all-around swell guy, Scott Shelburne, gave me a valuable piece of this guy right away freaked out after this note, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
A valuable piece of hardware that I'm using to fuel my Raspberry Pi addiction.
Ooh.
Without going into too much detail, it's valuable to me, but that jerk won't allow me to repay him. Like I said, he's a swell guy. Scott is a fellow podcaster and a fellow producer of No Agenda on a subscription plan. I know he appreciates and actively supports the show. That's why I hit him in the mouth. So may I humbly submit the idea of a value for value donation. I value his device. He values a boost on his trip to knighthood support, the best podcast in the universe, y'all, and you all value the cash. Everybody wins. You could all now. Here's where he freaked out. He sent another note saying, "Hey, by the way, this donation is supposed to go in for Scott," and he never actually says it in the note.
Oh,
so he's going to get credit for the associate executive producership too. Scott will.
Okay.
If you could also mention him in the birthday segment, and he's on the list, I believe.
Yes, he is.
For a jingle segment, Scott's favorite Obama A-Team, some friend karma, and for me, just play some random sound hits during the New World Order song. It's always great fun.
I agree. It's great fun.
We love the show and you, so keep up the great work. Hope this idea leads to more support. In other words, it's people who kind of do that. They're given for somebody else.
Well, we just heard it from Ellie. You know, she gave it. But I understand. So he hooked him up with a Raspberry Pi, which is nice. You know, people do nice things. Absolutely. You don't always have to do something bad. But you're right. In this case, the value for value does work. Everybody wins. Sir Moser, the Moserian, thank you very much. I'm sure Scott is delighted as well, and he's on the birthday list.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, when the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
You've got karma.
Jesse Nelson comes in with $201.23 from Busan.
Jesse Coy Nelson, one of our end of show mixers.
Yeah, and he's in Busan, Korea.
Why not?
Not yet.
Well, now Jesse.
What a life!
Now Jesse is the tune man who's been going. Remember, he did the meetup in Israel, did the meetup in Palestine, did the meetup in one other place. He's just been going around the world.
Jaffa.
Was he in Jaffa? Yeah. And the guy is like nonstop doing stuff for the show. It's fantastic.
First time contribution of a financial variety, he says, but no de-douching. I've never been a douchebag in my life, and nor will I ever be. I made a vow to myself to be an associate executive producer when time was right and the stars aligned, and the time is now. So can I get a vow keeper for my first time bread donation to the best podcast in the universe?
What is a vow keeper?
Also, I'm looking to create with others.
Oh, yes. He plays well with others, our Jesse does.
Yes. Quarantine got you down, searching for something to do. Casey Coy is looking for a few good men and women to join the Starship Exile, an old-school theater of the mind radio, serial-style production with a geopolitics and social satire underbelly. Any level of experience, welcome. But a passion is a must. contact Casey Coy at Razor iPress at yahoo.com or Razor iPress at protonmail.com. For jingles, can I get a blistering rock and roll followed by Ant on the mic? And finishing up with, oh my God, that is amazing. And, rock on.
I'm laughing because Jesse actually sent the jingles. Because the blistering rock and roll is a sound. I don't know what Ant on the mic is, which he sent. The blistering rock and roll is me in Swamp Thing. Thanks, Jesse.
Rock and roll is the only thing that counts. Hard ass, blistering, awesome, heavy metal, rock and roll.
I have an Ant on the mic.
Oh my God, that is amazing!
You've got karma.
I didn't know of that. Had you ever heard this one of yourself?
I have an Ant on the mic. Yeah, I remember it.
I don't remember that one.
I do.
Huh.
Why anyone would clip it is another question. Question is someone's sanity.
Well,
Dame Sheila, the Lady of Lisbon or Lisboa. $200, and she's in the UK right now, at least according to this. Hi, John and Adam. Boots on the ground from Portugal. With a bit of info from Spain, too. We are fortunate to be living in the center of Lisbon, which is deathly quiet, but we are able to walk and cycle around as much as we want. Yesterday, we went for a drive. Adam, insert your audience's shocked sound here, please. Out to Sintra. Out to Sintra, which is normally packed with tourists. It was completely deserted, and we had a wonderful walk in the forest and drove back no issues. This would be impossible in Spain, which has been on full lockdown since March 16th or thereabouts. Our friends have an army truck outside their apartment in Spain, and they're allowed 10 minutes outside each time to walk their dog. It's gone insane up there. We have a house in the north of Spain, but we won't be able to go there until mid-April, maybe. To be honest, after all this shit show, I'd be quite likely to sell it. The Spanish government, along with others, will not come out of this well, since the people realize that they've been duped. Or should I say if and it is a big if. There's a British journalist, Peter Hitchens. We're familiar with him.
Yes.
That was the other Hitchens' brother. Who, as far as I can tell, is the only voice of sanity in the UK mainstream media.
Yeah, we've put his blog post in the show notes.
Good.
Yeah.
I haven't read that. I recommend to fellow UK producers to follow him on Twitter. Also, UK column is a great source of news. Anyway, thanks for the reality, sanity. Nor Gender Reality is the best podcast in the universe, especially in these trying times. I, for one, will not be getting that vaccine. No jingles, but lots of karma, and I can request the No Agenda producers who are having or living in lockdown towns and in cities to buy some bird seed and go out and feed all the birds that are currently starving to death as their food supply parents are leftovers and rubbish from eating outside have just disappeared. Thank you for your courage, Dame Sheila.
That's so nice, Dame Sheila, Lady of Lisboa. Thank you very much. And when you think that's the homeless, of course, are also starting to have problems now because there's no food.
Well, in San Francisco, they're taking care of the problem. They're taking the hotels, which are shut down, and they're turning the Grand Hyatt into a
homeless
shelter. Putting all the people into rooms in the
with
hotel.
Room service. Do they get room service?
If they call down, maybe. I have no idea how far it goes, but they're moving them all in there.
Wow.
And the city will pay for that. And there's also another little breakthrough in the city. Apparently, they've decided that it used to be a $900 or something like that if you did damage. The police won't investigate. Now they've jacked that up to the DA, who doesn't want to arrest anybody, says if the police will not respond to any robberies or anything if it's under $2,500.
Oh my gosh.
So now every shop that was left open before they shut everything down, which they had to do. But the grocery stores are still subject to this. People just going in, loading up their carts and stealing everything. And this is encouraged by the city of San Francisco. And the city says they will reimburse you if this happens to you.
Crime pays. Crime pays.
It's a fabulous town.
I want to hand out the big ass. Did I give a karma to her? Yeah, we did give a karma to her.
Did you?
Well, I'm going to do it just in case and throw a goat in just for good measure.
You've got
all right, there we
karma.
Go. Thank you. Our executive producers and associate executive producers really came through today. You'll see the second donation segment is going to be quite short. This may be the tipping point for us. They're kind of expecting it. I'm not quite sure how everyone's doing. I know a lot of people who don't have income right now. A lot. A lot of them young. Hopefully the crisis checks will be coming in the mail soon. Who knows how long that will take. It's happening everywhere. So those of you who are supporting the show to the best of your ability, thank you very much. It means an incredible amount to us, but to all people who produce the show. And if you'd like to do that for our Thursday show, please check out this fab website.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And remember, during these times on lockdown, it's easier to hit people in the mouth virtually.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Dropped a penny. All right. Where were we?
Well, I got another report we can do.
Yes.
This is because it's, again, we talk about these changes that are going to occur because we're stuck with these changes. They're going to be permanent, some of them, or not so much. Let's listen to what's going to happen with the airline industry. It's another special report that was a half hour on, again, Al Jazeera, which seems to be the only place I'm going to get any news other than Trump. Let's start with airline travel doubles every 15 years.
Airline travel double every 15 years. Anil was making the point that people might not want to get back on a plane again. They might want to do a staycation. They might want to go someplace on a bullet train. So tell me, Alex, how do the big hub airports as well justify carrying on with their expansion plans if nobody's going to get on that 747 or that A380?
I'm optimistic. I think there will be a queue of people waiting to get on that 747 or A380. And we know history demonstrates this bounce back, not just for the economic side of things, but actually for the fact that the large majority of the world now are in home isolation. And they will be waiting for the day that they have been given the all clear, that they can travel to new territories and see the world. And
is this guy an Oompa Loompa? Sorry, but he really sounds like an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, he does. But I didn't think of that.
Hold on. It's not done. We'll let him finish.
Isolation, and they will be waiting for the day that they have been given the all clear, that they can travel to new territories and see the world. And we will see that bounce back. We know within the immediate aftermath of the SARS outbreak in 2003, air travel demand was right back up to pre-SARS level after just 9 months of the crisis. So that bounce back does occur. Will airlines have to do that bit to ensure that there is better travel confidence? Yes. Suddenly, it all seems irrelevant as to who has the best type of seat or the most recline. And actually, airlines are doing all they can to convince you that their aircraft are the cleanest and their airports are the most hygienic. There's definitely been a shift here, but I do believe that bounce back will occur, not just on an economic side of things, but for the public too.
Okay, so that's a 9-month lag, which means, and with the low gas prices, this tells me there's going to be some dirt cheap flights because they're going to do it.
Yeah, they'll
everything
have to
get you on a plane.
They'll have to.
Now let's go on to the other one. This is part 2, and this is talking about what was the lag after 9/11 and what was the lag after 2008. This is airline travel after 9/11 2.
Oh, 2.
Then you take the next big crisis, which was the 2008 financial crisis. And there, the industry had a almost, in the first year, a significant
Okay, stop. That's the second clip. I'm sorry, I screwed it up. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's okay.
Airline travel after 9/11 profits starts.
Anil, in London, would it be fair to say that this is the worst crisis to hit the airline world, in as much as aviation, when you get your bum on a seat, that's relatively speaking a very, very cheap way to move around the world anyway. The profit margins are so tiny if you're flying in economy down the back of a full A380, say Etihad, Qatar Airways, BA, whoever, they're not making a lot of money on that seat. And on top of that, you've got to convince people who now cannot afford to fly, who don't want to fly, to start flying again at some point in the future. So all these carriers have got to plan on taking a massive hit that might be so big they have to face the prospect of going out of business.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, this is not the first major crisis that the industry has faced. And actually, the industry is very resilient. You go back to 9/11, the industry had a significant hit there in terms of global profits. And if you look at what IATA published, it took about 5 years after 9/11 for the industry to recover and become profitable again.
Any mention in that interview of people putting puts on the airline industry before this happened?
There's not an analogy.
Before coronavirus? No? Okay.
No, but you had a lot of opportunity to do it. I mean,
sure.
It wasn't that you had to do it before the virus. You had it until the oil crash. That was you had a window that was almost a month long.
And I just want to say that the airline industry, certainly in the United States, it's a part of our infrastructure. That is pretty much a government business, and it has to be.
Yeah, because the country's big. The trains don't work. You got mountains. It's just you can't have high speed rail. Even though whatever happened to that? High speed rail from New York to LA.
They're talking about the high. I read an article. The high speed train that was supposed to be take you from Los Angeles to San Francisco. Apparently now it's going to be a private train from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Private.
Cool, that's a kind of a switcheroo.
Private train.
Oh, brother. Well, let's play part 2 of this and get another data point.
Then you take the next big crisis, which was the 2008 financial crisis. And there, the industry had a almost, in the first year, a significant hit, bigger than probably 9/11 there. But the recovery period was within about 2 years. And this is a slightly different crisis. And I think there's two, or possibly three reasons why this is a slightly different crisis. One is that we have a restriction globally from various governments about the movement of people. So even if people wanted to fly, they can't. The second major reason is because a lot of people around the world in various sectors have been laid off, they're unemployed. That's going to hit their personal finances, and the amount of disposable income is reduced dramatically. And I think the third major impact on demand is going to be, once this crisis begins to recover, what about some of the perceptions of passengers regarding health concerns? Is sitting in an aircraft cabin for several hours, are you more likely to catch the virus? And I think those three things have to improve dramatically for the industry for demand to pick up again. So it's going to be interesting. It's not a type of crisis that we've seen in the past, and how quickly will the industry recover? Is this going to be quite a long recovery like we saw after 9/11, or is this going to be a recovery that is going to bounce back relatively quickly?
But what are they really talking about? Are they talking, they're talking about profits and finance, or are they talking about routes? Because that's more important to me, is can we get everywhere the way we used to? I don't give a crap if they make money or not. We bail them out for 40 years. I don't care.
I think the routes aren't going to change that much. There's just not going to be that. The frequency is going to. But usually they keep the routes because you don't want to lose those routes.
Yeah, that's why
you give up a route, you give up a gate, you can't get it again. But frequency is an issue, which is similar. You'll lose that slot too, but they can't fly a bunch of empty planes around, so they're going to have to change things. But everyone's going to have to back off, I think. There'll be an aggressive airline just to decide to take a beating and just keep a lot of routes going, but a lot of frequency and a lot of routes, and just take a beating, I guess. If they're big enough, they can do that. Well, anyway, it's going to be a shakeout. There's going to be a shakeout. We already covered there's going to be a shakeout in cash. The war on cash is continuing, even though this dollar is so strong. I
read that Square, I think it was Square, has got a license to be a bank.
Well, they should be a bank.
Yep. Well, it's not all that easy to just say, I want to be a bank.
I want to be a bank.
Here, Square cleared by regulators to open a bank. Yes, they get FDIC approval, I guess is what they need.
Oh, that's what the FDIC, to get the FDIC. Yeah, that's a big deal.
So those guys are going to, they all want to be your bank. This is
everybody wants to be a bank.
Here it comes.
I have one more clip about a industry that is affected by this permanently. And in this case, it's the NFL. And the guy running the NFL is so oblivious. They actually think that everything's fine. It's going to be a football season. It'll be just, that people are going to go right back into being huge crowds and all the rest. And I'm not convinced of this, but the NFL is totally convinced of it. And if you start to say anything bad about it and you're a member of the club, as it were, you're going to get disciplined.
Ooh.
Draft will be held from April 23rd to the 25th. Goodell said in a memo Thursday that the NFL Management Council Executive Committee was, quote, unanimous and unequivocal that the draft should go forward as scheduled. He also added, everyone recognizes that the public health conditions are highly uncertain, and there is no assurance that we can select a different date and be confident that conditions will be significantly more favorable than they are today. I also believe that the draft can serve a very positive purpose for our clubs, our fans, and the country at large. And many of you have agreed. Public discussion of issues relating to the draft serves no useful purpose and is grounds for disciplinary action.
Shut up, slave.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the NFL. A bunch of, creeps.
How's the NBA, by the way? How come half of the teams don't have the Rona?
A lot of the teams have
but not like it should be.
No.
Sweaty men.
Yeah, bumping into
together
each other all the time, slapping each other around.
Yeah. Slapping each other, slapping their asses. Tell me about it, John. Tell me about the sweaty men rocking around.
Hey, we missed it, man.
We missed what?
I got the clip.
Oh.
Every year we talk about it, and somehow it just got slipped right by us.
What?
And I think apparently it didn't entail enough Trump hate.
No! It's impossible that we missed this. You're right. Not enough Trump hate, therefore. They should have upped that this year.
They could have found an angle. I don't know why they didn't. You know what clip I'm talking about.
A symbolic annual event with powerful images. Earth Hour has been a moment for millions of people to come together and think about our impact on the world around us. This year's event takes on new meaning as billions take part in another shared experience.
In light with all that is happening with the coronavirus, why not turn this into a super special activity with your household? You can prepare a candlelit dinner as it's at 8:30 in the evening, switch off all electricity, enjoy each other's company, and why not talk about all the wonderful gifts that Mother Nature has to offer and all the things that we look forward to doing once.
If this was their spokesperson, no wonder it didn't get any traction.
The isolation is lifted and we can all be outdoors again and enjoy the wonderful world that we live in.
Let us learn the lesson that the universe is desperately trying to teach us. That the time that we're spending in isolation not have been in vain.
In situations like the one we're in at the moment, we look for silver linings, and there is one in terms of the climate and reduced levels of pollution.
Okay, now, Curry Dvorak Consulting Group is in session. Who is responsible for this complete ball of poop called a promotion? Earth Hour, the opportunity of a lifetime for a marketeer or communications sexpert. Here's your opportunity to connect the stay-at-home movement with the reduction of CO2, with the saving of the earth. No, squandered because you have this failed notion of flipping off the lights of important buildings around the world, which no one has given a crap about for the past 10 years. Here was your opportunity, and you put that woman on. Squandered, no message, fail.
Fail. It was a total fail.
Fail. So stupid.
That's why, like I said, we didn't even know this happened. It was a couple of days ago.
I can't believe this. Epic fail. I can't believe that they couldn't. What did they? Well, we had a meeting and we decided this was a strategy, so we're not going to vary from the strategy. Don't you hear someone saying that?
Oh yeah,
we know him.
Actually, that's a good voice too.
It's a woman, by the way.
Yeah,
we have our strategy, and we're going to keep with our strategy. So, look, everyone has their tactic and strategy. Right? We know exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to execute the plan. We're going to execute the plan. No flexibility. Not like podcasters. We got flexibility, baby. Something else happened. Oh, yes. Sealed indictments. Yes. Knocked down. So we had already one sealed indictment opened up. Remember, that was the Harvard professor.
Yes.
Now we have not one, not two, but 3 sealed indictments opened up. 3. So that means we only have 996.
No, it's 10,000 sealed indictments, isn't it?
Well, it's thousands. I'm just going over 1,000. I'm just saying there's 1,000.
Okay, we're just taking it at 1,000.
So we're now down to 996 sealed indictments still left because Attorney General Barr opened up 3 of them.
This is the first time we've tried a virtual press conference at the Department of Justice.
Yes, and next time, Attorney General Barr, call the Curry Dvorak Consulting Group, please, because you put the picture-in-picture over the heads of the guys standing behind you. It was horrible.
And I hope it goes okay. But I appreciate all of you participating this morning. Today I'm here to talk about the former Maduro regime and its direct part.
Okay, just what happened? Did we go to bed and then Maduro is no longer running the show? It's now Guaido and someone didn't tell us? I mean, we know Guaido was at the State of the Union.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Well, Guaido is now former.
No.
I mean,
Maduro.
He said Maduro. Maduro is former. But that's not exactly determined.
No, Maduro's running this place.
No, you heard him as former. Listen to it.
Today former.
It's former. Listen.
I'm here to talk about the former Maduro regime.
This is a CIA op. This is a CIA op.
No. Well, there's here's what it is. It's parsing. You didn't parse it right. He's not talking about the current Maduro regime. Oh. He's talking about the former Maduro regime, which is the one that existed before Maduro got reelected.
Oh.
Today I'm here to talk about the...
Oh, yeah? Well, listen to the whole thing.
...former Maduro regime and its direct participation in narco-terrorism, corruption, money laundering, and drug trafficking. As you will hear, the Department of Justice is announcing the unsealing of a superseding indictment filed...
I think unsealing of a superseding indictment counts double. That should, so we're now 995 sealed indictments.
I'll give you those. Then.
Okay, thank you.
The Department of Justice is announcing the unsealing of a superseding indictment filed in the Southern District of New York against 4 defendants, including Nicolas Maduro, as well as the current head of Venezuela's Constituent Assembly, the former director of military intelligence, and a former high-ranking general for their involvement in narco-terrorism. In addition, a recent superseding indictment charges 2 high-ranking regime leaders with corruption. Further, the Southern District of Florida unsealed charges this morning against the Chief Justice of the Venezuelan Supreme Court involving money laundering. Additionally, this morning, the Criminal Division unsealed an indictment charging the Minister of Defense for his involvement in drug trafficking. These charges are in addition to charges the department has previously filed in the Eastern District of New York, the Southern District of Texas, and the District of Arizona against former members of the Maduro regime.
Right. Isn't this how we take over the place? Isn't this how it starts? You indict everybody.
We try.
They got 15 million reward.
Question. I'm sorry. There's a question of logic here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the Maduro regime.
Former Maduro regime.
let's say whatever it's Maduro regime during whenever.
Yeah.
This is a country sitting on the world's largest, or at least the largest supply of oil in the Western Hemisphere, more than Saudi Arabia, probably more than Russia. It's a huge pile of oil that can bring in tens of billions, if not trillions of dollars.
Yes.
So you're going to traffic in drugs.
It's much easier to traffic in drugs.
Just skimming the money off of this huge cash flow that is outrageous. It's over the top. You're going to hell with that. Let's sell drugs. That's where the money is, George.
Well, let me ask you. Yeah, indeed. Let me ask you a question. If you go to an oil convention, are there hot babes and hookers there? No. That's where the drugs are, brother. So it's bonus time. It's easier to transport. It's not so messy.
It's
not as messy. It's not as messy. You don't need ships and pipes. You just need mules. Put it in some snakes, sew it up in their bellies.
I'm just saying.
You got hookers, literally hookers and blow.
I wish there was a press conference where somebody could ask Barr this simple question. Why, when you're sitting on $1 trillion worth of oil, are you going to dick around selling drugs on the side? Give me a break.
Try this on for size. The people of Venezuela need work. There's lots of work in.
So let's coke them up.
No, no.
Here's the shovel, senor. You dig.
No, I mean, you gotta. There's a lot of packing, and the labs. There's a lot of work in the drug business. You get to do submarine trips. I don't understand your thinking in this. How could boring? We're all going electric. He was probably sold on he probably has a Tesla. Like, look what I bought for my drug money. That's exactly the thinking. I don't know. I don't know. See why you don't understand this. But we're taking over. This sounds like we're on the way in. We already
sounds lame.
Introduced. Well, this is the CIA portion of the government doing something when no one's looking.
That's all the CIA does is think in terms of drugs.
Yeah.
When is the last time the CIA did an oil operation? Never. It's always about smuggling drugs or taking heroin, making heroin.
It's really hard to have a gushing pipe in the evidence room and say, see, we got him. No, you want the stacks and stacks of cash and guns and dope. That's what you want.
Yeah, well, maybe if they come to their senses and realize this is stupid.
Well, they're doing it.
Well, let's see what it goes on. I got a story here, but talking about oil.
Yeah.
I do have an Al Jazeera story that does explain a little bit about what happened with this tiff between Saudi Arabia and Russia. This is the oil prices story.
Yeah, got it.
Oil prices could be headed to $10 a barrel as the global economy heads towards recession.
Gold standard coming soon.
And the oil
Nobody said $10 in this country.
That $10 is, that would bankrupt the shale oil.
They're already having trouble.
It's like, what is it? What it has to be 68 or something? We have to.
No, I think it's 50. I think it's closer to 50.
Okay. Well, anyway, $10 oil. Woo!
Oil prices could be headed to $10 a barrel as the global economy heads towards recession. And the oil price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia is adding to the crisis. Problems are piling up for countries that are both importers and exporters of oil, such as Indonesia. Al Jazeera's Jessica Washington has the story from Jakarta.
Around the world, the coronavirus outbreak isn't just a health emergency, it's also an economic one. Disruptions to supply chains were a given, but such a dramatic price war on the oil market was unexpected. A falling out between Saudi Arabia and Russia sparked the sharpest one-day crash in oil prices since the Gulf War. Indonesia is one of the countries that's both an exporter and importer, and economists think it could be a challenging time for the country and its oil industry.
The exporters will really going to feel the pinch. I think the first is with this coronavirus impacting the global economy, the Chinese economy will feel the slowdown. The global economy will feel the slowdown.
Like almost everything in recent weeks, the slump in oil prices comes back to the coronavirus outbreak. China, the world's biggest importer of oil, was turning back tankers as its economy began to contract. Saudi Arabia called for a massive cut in production, but Russia disagreed, and in response, Riyadh ramped up production.
This whole thing's still, we're either in it with Russia or in it with Saudi Arabia, and I don't know. I know you said differently.
Well, I want to reveal the story as the official story, not their interpretation.
Right.
And the official story is that once the corona hit China, and China being the big user of oil, the Saudi had a bunch of tankers going in there and said, no, we got too much now. You got to go back. You can't, or put an anchor or something. We can't take your oil. And so the Saudi freaks out, and they call the Russians, or their partners with in terms of running OPEC, whatever's left of it. And they say, hey, look what just happened. It's going to be a disaster. We got to cut production and keep the prices high. And Russia said, I don't think so.
Niet. They said
niet. And so after saying niet, the Saudis figure they're going to be double crossed. The Russians are going to try to steal the Saudi contracts with China. And they said, okay, you want to play that game? We can play that game. And they cranked up production because it's pretty well known that the Saudis can make money off their oil around, at least this is something I brought up on the show a million times. I don't have the clip anymore, where the guy says you can do it about $25 a barrel, and the Russians can't. They need like 40. And so they figured, screw the Russians. And so they ramped it up, and now the Russians are going to have a problem, and everybody else is too, especially, except in California, where they apparently have paid no attention to this, and the gas prices have actually gone up at the pump because of California's legislature. Thank you very much.
Wait a minute. Your gas prices have gone up?
Yeah. Yeah, they're $4 now.
So you can steal $2,500 worth of goods. Your gas prices went up. Half your place is on fire or earthquaking. It sounds like a beautiful
actually, there's
place
no
to be.
fires. There's no earthquakes.
Well, that's
it's
not
just that
this
there's
time.
a lot of crime and homelessness.
You guys need some extra. Why don't you take some fire? Get some fire back on. That was better pictures.
I'm sure some of these, of the people that moved into the Hyatt will probably set the hotel on fire because they're going to be cooking with a small little wood fire in the room there, and it's going to cause a problem.
Oh yeah. Shall we take a brief moment to talk about the political sitch, the Paul sitch, because Joe is operating from his bunker. Poorly, I will say.
Okay, I do want to play one quickie, though, with Joe, because I want you to tell me this. I was, like I said, listening to Al Jazeera, and there is a commercial for the politics going on in the United States for some special show they're doing, and there's a voice of Joe Biden in here, this odd Joe Biden voice, and they show him talking, and tell me that somebody hasn't screwed up with this voice. Screw this voice.
How much is the coronavirus and the stock market chaos affecting the race to the White House? Will it be Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders who secures the Democratic nomination?
I believe we can beat Donald Trump.
Follow all the developments in the U.S. election campaign on Al Jazeera.
Actually sounded like Hillary Clinton in Joe Biden's voice, oddly.
Yeah, doing a Southern accent.
Yeah.
I believe we can beat Donald Trump. I've never heard Biden do that.
Maybe when he's in Al Jazeera land, he thinks he's in the South. I just have 3 short bits, 3 short sound bites. That's all I got, because he was everywhere. He did the CNN virtual Democratic presidential town hall.
Are you familiar with the rumor?
Are you going to break my heart?
Well, I don't know. Joe Biden supposedly had a stroke.
When? Just like during this period?
Since the last show.
Oh shit! I didn't hear this rumor.
Just a rumor. I don't know. It's just floating around the net.
Joe's he can't. It's cruel and abusive. And this will be the last time I laugh about it. No, maybe not. It's so mean. So he's on the CNN virtual Democratic presidential town hall, which is basically Joe in his living room and Pooper in the studio. Then he's on the Tonight Show with Kimmel. He's doing shtick. It should never be done. Even if it was good connections continuously, it's more Skypey, or maybe I think probably if it's MSNBC, they'd use WebEx, or so they're trying different things. But there's always a delay. There's lag. You can't be that funny. It's not as good as in person, especially not when you're Joe. Just a couple of quick sound bites.
But it's a way to be able to sleep with my wife.
Okay, this was my favorite.
I'm the only one in my family that has zero talent. Zero.
That is got to be one of my favorite. And then this.
And our Secretary of State insisted, and this broke the meeting up basically in terms of her influence, that this be called the Wuhan virus.
Okay, the Wuhan virus. That's sad, man.
God.
It's sad.
Well, those are mediocre. Joe's not at his top form at all. You can say that you're giving him a bad time, but this is nothing there that's that bad.
That's true. He's not really faltering, but it's just, whenever he says, well, here's what I do as president, I'd have daily briefings. I'd bring the Surgeon General out daily, and he should be talking to the American people. Joe, yes, this is happening every single day. Jerome Adams is everywhere talking whatever you want him to do.
By the way, just kind of on the screwball subject, I'm listening to one of your stations there in Austin.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
And KXAN, I think is the name of it. So it's like it would have been a UHF news station. Who is this evil and mysterious Austin company? This lousy report from your local reporters.
I tried to get the report myself. In fact, I clipped the report and threw it out. It's so shit.
Well, I have the report here.
Yeah, let's play
it. And what's missing, obviously, is the whole thing is a hoax.
How about? Thank you. That's what I thought. The minute I hear the voice changer come in, I'm like, okay, if you're not even going to name the company and you're going to do a vocoder. This is not a story. It's not a story. Which what's titled in your clip list here?
Evil and mysterious Austin company.
Those who earn between $75,000 and $9,000 will get less money based on a sliding scale. KXAN investigator Jody Barr got a tip about a company planning to reduce paychecks by those same amounts. Jody, is that even legal?
Well, Robert, it might not be. That company sent this agreement out just a few days ago, asking its workers to sign it. A signature on this form would allow this company to essentially walk away with those relief checks.
This is the Employee Emergency Compensation Program.
This man's company is waiting on him to essentially sign away his next paycheck.
They're reducing employee compensation by 100% of the government distribution for the individual, as well as 50% of the government distribution for any dependent that individual claims.
To protect his job and his company, this man asked that we not identify him.
Yeah, I saw the story. It is KXAN who reported. I did not see any other reports on it. It's total crap. And if someone's doing it, they're not going to get away with it. That's not how the system works. For some reason, they set that up.
You would name the company to shame them.
That's exactly what you do. This is bull crap. What is not bull crap, however, is our second segment.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. No Agenda in the morning.
And we have a few people to thank for show 1229, starting with Mark Valentine in Grantham, UK. 100. He says, outstanding work, gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And he says it in a British accent. Brian Burgess in Pelican Rapids, Minnesota, 8033. Ronald Scholl, 8008. That came through Pop Money.
Boop.
Which actually works.
Oh, cool.
Pop Money is a very good mechanism. It works like a champ, actually. Sean O'Neill, 8008.
And he has a call out. He wants to call out as a douchebag. son of Don Tuthill, David Tuthill, a douchebag. There you go.
David, get your act together.
Really?
Brad Alberton in Kingston, North Carolina. Another boob, 8008. Sean Thorpe, 6671. Gary Blatt in Wayne, Pennsylvania, 6660. Dame Zelda of the Turtle Realm, 66. And she is having a birthday to her best friend and better half, her husband.
Yes.
He's going to turn 66, I guess.
Oh, nice.
James Skousen in Redlands, California, another birthday. Call out for himself, I think.
Yep.
In Redlands, 6456. Sam Van Hoer in Amsterdam, 5678.
Let me just read
Karma
this.
Works?
Jobs Karma Works. Last monthly donation, I asked for a bit of Jobs Karma directly after the karma. I got to sign a permanent full-time contract just before the corona hit the economy. I was the last guy to get hired at the company. Means you'll be the first to get fired. Thank you for the karma and great content. Keep up the good work. Stay safe. I love it when that happens. Thank you, Sam.
Kiwi
Sir
Kiwi Chris in Wellington, New Zealand, 5555.
Whoa, hold on. He says, this should probably take me over to knighthood. Oh, but quite frankly, I don't know as I can't find all the donations I've made since the first donation I gave you in the San Francisco office some 10 years ago. Remember that? When they came by the office?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
And I didn't know he's a ham. 9/8 November. Call? Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Well,
98 NZD.
They recently dropped one of the letters, I think, from call signs there. I should look it up.
So does NZ mean New Zealand?
Yeah, it's 98 NZ Delta. No. That's just that's how much it was in New Zealand dollars.
Oh, okay. NZ Delta.
Okay, great.
We use ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Well, try to figure it out, Kiwi, and then we'll get you.
Let us know. And Eric can help you. Shill@noagendanation.com.
To a point. I mean, a lot of this is lost to checks and everything. Who knows? Oscar Kuroga II in Huffman, Texas, 5510, double nickels on the dime. Also for Peter Chong in Lakewood, Washington. Tom Miller, another double nickels on the dime in Schaumburg, Illinois. David Doyle in Jones, another double nickels on the dime for Tom. David Doyle, 55 even in Johnstown, Ohio. And he's got a birthday calling out, KB3DA73s. We'll give him a birthday call in a minute. Richard Bowersocks.
What?
That's what it looks like, Bowersocks. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 55. Meredith Madden in Manassas, Virginia, 5445. Had another happy birthday. We got a lot of birthdays today.
We do.
A lot.
It's nice.
Edward Totnall in Indianapolis, Indiana, 5533. Sir Austin Barron of the Puget Sound in Seattle, Washington, 5150. And the following people, as we wrap this list up, is short actually, are $50 donors, and I got names and locations, including.
Well, Jeffrey Fields is qualified for a knighting today.
Yes, he's for New Braunfels, Texas, where they actually had according to your local news, there's someone died of corona. One person.
Hey! Stay off of my local news. What are you doing on my local news?
Nice. What's interesting about it? If you want to know.
Yeah. Why are you all of a sudden in my local news? On my
you've poached over here too. Don't kid yourself. So I found a website, and it keeps the stories separate, so you can punch through them. And without commercials, they don't throw a bunch of ads on their stories.
So it's just the KXAN stories?
Yeah.
Oh, send me that link. That's fantastic. CNN has there's a Twitter account, a CNN Twitter account. I got to find what it's called. And it's all the local affiliate stories. So they have links to the just the packages. So you can you can do your own wraparound. It's like CNN affiliates or something like that. Some good, yeah. These are really handy things.
So
to
you're
have.
all into the wraparound. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey is going to be knighted. We have him on the list.
Yes, we do.
James Nietzsche in Hopewell, Virginia, 50.
I think it's Nicole. James Nicole.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it's Nicole. James Nicole.
Nickel. Probably Nickel.
Nichols. Bobby Nichols. Stephanie Sutton in Mesa, Arizona. Richard Gardner, Sir Richard in Chicago. Elizabeth Gunther in Los Angeles, California. Thanks for keeping me sane, she says. Sir Jeffrey Zellen in Oakland, Michigan. David Deloria in Santa Clarita, California. Darren Denikowitz. I'm guessing he's in Dubai.
We got it. Denikowitz. Darren's been donating a while, like every show.
He's got to be a knight. We don't know him as a knight, though. We'll have to ask him. Maybe we're just dropping it. Christopher Kessler in Marshfield, Wisconsin. And last, Sir Fuck That Guy in St. Louis, Missouri, who did write in a short note which says, "This is the only show that keeps me calm."
Yes.
Sincerely,
I get that
Sir
a lot.
Fuck That Guy.
I get that a lot.
I don't know why this guy has to use that epithet.
Well, that is his knight name. I remember knighting him.
Yeah, it's regrettably true. Okay, well, I want to thank all these folks for producing Show 1229. It was a good list, and we hope to get pump it up a little bit for the next show, because I thought, if you didn't notice, today's show, especially at the beginning, was dynamite.
Yeah, I think, no, I don't think. I know that people appreciate what we're doing. That's just the notes I'm getting. The number of people who say, "I'm kind of glad you guys are around." People who like my daughter listens religiously now. She's like, "Yeah, it really keeps us calm here."
Yes.
Are you sure
you don't need to be a nervous wreck, because that is not healthy,
and it's not necessary. It's not necessary for the death part. There's a lot of things to be worried about. The thing I'm worried about is you're moving to Austin. You're clearly doing reconnaissance. You're watching my local news, and we're ready for you.
And I've been looking at Franklin's lectures on brisket. And by the way, somebody sent me a bunch of good clips. And I'll tell you this, that guy, who seems like a classic hipster, he really
he knows how to do a brisket.
Yes, he does.
Yes,
in fact,
he does.
When I watched it, I realized my problems with the brisket is really less I didn't know what I was doing. There's more to it than ribs or anything else. I mean, you really have to. It's just a lot more to it.
Yes, and do you do the dance? You know the dance?
I didn't know the dance.
The dance is in part and port of brisket.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll welcome you here with open arms and cock shotguns. Thank you to all of the producers of the best podcast in the universe. And by the way, that's not me saying it. That's according to the Mueller report. Go ahead, read it. It's in there. Our executive producers as well, our associate executive producers, and everybody who came in under $50, either to keep yourself anonymous or you're on one of our programs that keep you supporting the show. Everyone, please consider doing that. And thank you so much, particularly in these days, for supporting the show. We'll do it again on Thursday. Remember us, Dvorak.org/NA. We have a little jingle to help you and the kids reminded.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Ask everybody at Jobs, Karma.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
Atta go.
You've got karma.
And we do indeed have a nice list of birthdays. Today is the 29th of March, 2020. Lockdown. Ellie Shadows. Happy birthday to her. And she was very clear. Her hot, sexy husband, John T. Shadows, he celebrates tomorrow. Sir Mose of the Moserian says happy birthday to Scott Shelburne. Birthday today. Dame Zelda to her best friend and better half, 66 tomorrow. James Skousen. And David Doyle will be turning 55. And Marathon Madden says happy birthday to Jay, who turns 45 on April 2nd. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag.
We have one change today, and that was thanks to the really extremely generous donation from Sir Mittens of Falls City. By adding... Whoa. I'm out of control here. By adding... that was very interesting. I thought it was kind of noisy. By adding to his total support of the show, he becomes a Viscount today. Wow, that must have sounded really interesting, all those jingles playing at the same time. One knighting, it's always nice to have a knighting, although this will be a social distance knighting, so it's virtual. Can't actually clap the sword on your shoulder, but here it is, John.
Here you go. Here's mine.
Virtual sword. Jeffrey Fields, come on up to the lectern here, the podium. You, sir, are about to become a Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable thanks to your support of the best podcast in the universe in the amount of $1,000 or more, and you are now joining that fantastic group of knights and dames, and I hereby pronounce the Sir Red Patch of the Texas Ring. For you, my friend, we have Hookers and Blow, Red Boys and Chardonnay. We've got taquitos and tequila, kebab and Persian wine, geishas and sake. We got pepperoni rolls and pale ales, ginger ale and gerbils, bong hits and bourbon, breast milk and pablum, or everybody's favorite, it's always here at the table, mutton and mead. Thank you for your support, and go to noagendanation.com/rings and give Eric the Shill some basic info. And we'll get that off to you as soon as possible. We have new ones coming in. Very excited about that, getting everybody their rings. And I see some have shipped during this lockdown, which is also very nice. Dvorak.org/NA to support the show. Value for value. Whatever you think it's worth, let us know. And a notice for the affiliates.
We're going long.
Apparently, we're going long.
Well, there was one thing I wanted to discuss with you that was quite interesting. We had just weird things happening during this time. And some of it is, like the Maduro thing. It's a weird time to do that. Some things are just kind of odd. But what happened the other day is this came out. Did you see or hear this song? The voice will clue you in.
It was a dark day in Dallas. November 63.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah, doing the Kennedy song.
A 16-minute song. And it's all about the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that in this, one of the lyrics, a lot of weird reference, like the whole song is weird references. He says, the Wolfman killed JFK. Well, you know who the Wolfman is.
Wolfman Jack. Wolfman Jack?
No. Secret Service name for with Timberwolf is Bush Sr.
Oh,
Daddy Bush.
Well, that's not that is a theory that's been out there for a while. Bush supposedly actually was there.
Why does Bob Dylan pop this out now?
Well,
a song that he says, just had it laying around.
Nice. Almost.
I think it needs to be more unintelligible. Hey, it needs to be more. I had the song. The Wolfman killed the
They're great. So
maybe he's just really bored. Really bored.
I don't know.
Really bored.
Maybe he was told to do it. It's a good question.
That is the theory. You recall that one of the promises President Trump made that he was going to, I think the quote was, you'll find two things. You'll finally know who shot JFK and killed him, and you'll know who really pulled down the Twin Towers. So this would be a good one. He has the John F. Kennedy Assassination Paper Collection Act or something like that. It's some weird thing. And the president declassified most of it in 2017, but then held back to the severe disappointment of tinfoil hat wearing podcasters everywhere. He held back on some, there were pieces that weren't published.
They wouldn't release. They're just not going to let it go.
Not yet. But then when you hear, Bob Dylan,
you guys will let me put this on. I'm going to call my buddy Bob.
Hey, Bob,
who used to work for me at the casino.
Hey, Donald.
Yeah. So, sorry, that's possible. Is Trump also going to release the flying saucer documents?
Well, he has declassified some anti-gravitational technology that will be unveiled in that new triangle plane we're seeing sneak pictures of. Yes, there's some
that triangle
interesting...
plane's been around for a while.
Yeah, but okay. Well, I think there's a... Look, if you're going to lock everybody down, you better give us something. So I think at least who killed JFK, would be in order to give us that information. We maybe we don't do 9/11 just yet, but give us JFK. And I think the Pope is very smart, right on point with his timing. He did his special smoke and the prayer, which means, in 7 days we should start to be released from this hell, which I'm still on board with. I'm still thinking April 6th is a good date to get started. We will be social distancing. We will have apps. We will be told to work from home half the time. There'll be A teams and B teams. There will be A teams and B teams for eating. Restaurants will be spaced. You will have all kinds of warning systems telling you how dangerous it is.
Back off.
It's going to be stuff like that. But somehow we will get out of it. And certainly the No Agenda Media tribe, who always sticks together. Do you have anything else to take us home? I don't think I have. I have, what do I have? I have, maybe, let's see. I have one, I don't know if this is interesting. This is actually, I kind of like this, and I didn't like it at the same time. CGTN, which is China State Television, or China.
Yeah, what did they rename it? It used to be CCCTV or CCTV. Then they named it this stupid CGTN or whatever.
Is it like China Garden Television Network?
I don't know.
Global. I know, China Global Television Network. Okay. Well, they have information. Of course, we've heard about this from a lot of different people, that these
lies,
these drugs are apparently working.
And officials from the Ministry of Science and Technology have said clinical trials show a conventional anti-malarial drug is effective in treating coronavirus patients. Experts have confirmed the drug is safe to use, as it has been on the market for many years. But they also said that certain traditional Chinese medicines are also effective in alleviating symptoms. In addition, the National Health Commission said early diagnosis and treatment are an effective approach, which is reflected on the declining number of the cases.
That's good news. Plaquenil is apparently the commercial version, which is very odd. That was taken off the market, put back on, but hydroxy or hydrochloroquine seems to work with the right combination. We have this, and this is all just the good news to make you feel good as we leave the show and leave you until Thursday. Stanford University.
Despite dire warnings making headlines all over the country, experts suggest there are actually very good reasons to believe the coronavirus could soon be in remission. The same researchers at Stanford University who correctly predicted China's rapid recovery.
By the way, I'd like to tell you this is One American News, where I think many top 40 disc jockeys go to die.
Are urging Americans to remain calm, explaining their data shows the U.S. should pull through this much faster than health experts are expecting. While some epidemiologists say the virus could take months or years to run its course, Stanford biophysicist and Nobel Prize winner Michael Levitt says the data just doesn't support that conclusion. Levitt explains controlling panic is the first priority and says the media is to blame for frightening people unnecessarily, pointing out the normal flu has infected 36 million Americans just since September. He adds that shutting down large sections of the economy can cause its own health problems, increasing poverty and with it, depression. Other researchers at Stanford agree, saying there's no reason to panic based on what they call utterly unreliable data about the virus, explaining the data we do have suggests people are severely overreacting. Due to limited testing, they warn the fatality rates reported by the WHO are meaningless and just lead to selection bias because only patients with severe symptoms are being reported. Based on mortality projections from the cruise ship Diamond Princess alone, the death rate could be as low as 0.05%, even lower than the seasonal flu, which makes these drastic measures not only unnecessary, but potentially catastrophic, and according to those at Stanford, totally irrational.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was great. So
that is the worst voice.
I kind of like it because that means I can get a gig.
It's like
finally voiceover work.
1950s. You're right. It's a 1950s AM radio jock.
I do want to remind everybody as we leave. I just want one more reminder: do not fall for spike in cases increases. I see it all the time in the troll room. More testing means more cases. Positive cases doesn't mean they're going to die, doesn't mean they're being hospitalized, doesn't mean they'll need ventilators, doesn't mean there's a surge. Beware of your amygdala. This is more testing, more cases. Just be wary of that every single time. This is what they indoctrinate you with all the time. Do you have anything else I would say
Amy would disagree with you entirely.
No kidding.
There's more cases with less
testing.
Somehow.
Anything from your side before we leave?
No, I've got some stuff I can carry over. I'll be glad to. And the rest of it is just redundant or not funny or not interesting. Right. I think you wrapped it up perfectly.
All right. Well, I would like to leave everybody with a mainstream media clip. We started with Dr. Birx. We started with her analysis. Of course, she's a spook. She's all this horrible stuff. But I think that she's been honest from the get-go. She's been around for a long time. She's military, which I do like military people. I trust them for the discipline reasons. So we're going to leave you with the mainstream media's interpretation of Dr. Birx. This is from the fabulous NPR radio show, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
I don't know if you've been watching this, but the president is doing almost daily press conferences, which are mostly devoted to him praising himself. He's clearly not socially distancing his face from his own.
Well, he's not social. That woman with the scarf stands behind him, and I can tell she's a realtor. Because she often has the scarf in like a different knot each day, which is one of the things that they teach realtors. Is a lot of realtors are trained. They take at least one class in the scarf knot book.
That's Paula Poundstone. If you've never heard of her, this is the reason why. She's a comedian. So there you go. And that's what the mainstream brings. I hope we brought you different value. If so, let us know. Dvorak.org/NA. And we'll be all over the transoms, the wires, the cables, the connections. Send us anything. You know how to get a hold of us. And coming to you from the semi-lockdown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. We're here in Opportunity Zone number 33. That is smack in the middle of FEMA Region 6 if you're looking for it on the governmental maps. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until Thursday in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where there's nobody on the freeway still, because it is a Sunday. And I missed the Zephyr, so I can't give that report. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday right here on No Agenda. Coming up after the show on the No Agenda stream, Grumpy Old Ben's with Pandemic Sandbox and end-of-show mixes from Sir Joho, I guess, and Fletcher. See you Thursday. Adios, mofos!
Powerful. They're very powerful. Game changer. Virus. We're going to defeat the invisible enemy. Could be a game changer. Hydroxy changer. Hydroxy game changer. Hydroxy changer. Hydroxy could be a game changer. Chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, could be a game changer. Immediate relief, powerful enemy, powerful, they're very powerful. Hydroxychloroquine, horrible virus, could be a game virus. Immediate relief, invisible, immediate relief, horrible. Immediate relief virus. Till the end of April, immediate relief, we're going to defeat the virus.
Definitely, Sir Jono.
let me repeat it again. I want you just to be straight with the American people. Look, Joe. Yeah. You're right here with me. Yeah. All right. Whoa. Let me ask you a question, Joe. Whoa. Come on, Joe, you walk. Whoa. Go to the YouTube right now. Whoa. Time and time again. Whoa. Is that true or is that
No, it's not true.
Whoa. That is not true? All right. Whoa.
What is true is...
Whoa. Everything was on the table. Whoa.
Everything was on the table.
Whoa. That's what I just said. All right. Whoa.
No.
All right, you're right. You just said it. Whoa.
No.
You never said that.
No.
Whoa. Have you been on the floor?
Yeah.
Whoa. You just contradicted yourself.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right, time after time. Whoa. Why don't you just tell the truth here? We all make mistakes.
I am telling the truth.
Whoa. But the fact of the matter is, whoa.
I did not support any of those cuts.
I'm the only one in my family that has zero talent. Zero.
Just buy those face masks off the shelf. I bought 10 boxes of them for myself. Didn't help me much and now I'm totally screwed. Oh no, I got the Wuhan flu. I got myself a case of Wuhan flu. I don't know what I am supposed to do. Didn't know I had it when I gave it to you. Now we all got the Wuhan flu.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.